feel like my list is going to be pretty disappointing because I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Like, my top 7
Pretty predictable.
were, like, locked in, and the last 3 I was kind of playing with, but that was it.
Similar, but I'll say this. My number 1 still wound up being the same
Meg.
one I said it was during summer.
That's what I kept saying, too.
Totally.
I know.
Except I'm
and
pretty
I
sure I
think
made that statement
poor
before the
you were
Meg
so
came
excited to talk about that movie last year for your anticipated, but like you like freely admitted, like this is not going to be very good.
It's
But
a
I've been
Megalodon.
Yeah, but looking forward to this movie for 20 years, so...
And it's true. You know, I started reading those books in fucking middle school. So...
We're all going to be real disappointed after he hypes this up, and then he goes, oh, by the way, my number 1, Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that at some point.
It's all a ruse.
It's all misdirection.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bragina Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Josh Zorch.
I'm up first. That means I'm important.
Mike Bradley.
That whole pause thing there was meant to just confuse us as to who was going next, I think.
Yes.
But I feel like we're just going in reverse order of the order we're going to go in later. So it doesn't mean that Josh is more important.
Well, I wanted to save the other one for last because it's been a very long time since he's been on here, so he's officially been demoted to other Mike Romano.
Oh, man. I was thinking you were saving the best for last, but alright. Alright.
I love how you hit him with the "you've been demoted to other Mike" in the middle of introducing him.
I mean, I have been. If it's seriously been like 40 episodes, that's pretty pathetic. That's sad.
Yeah, I didn't go back through the records, but it's I feel like it's been slightly after somewhere in the early hundreds since
I guess
you've
it
been
would
on.
be, yeah.
Yeah. And I know
Shame
part of me is
bad
me.
Mike.
I haven't invited you back as often as I have, but I know scheduling has helped keep you away for a while too.
I've been busy.
I think
Life sucks.
work has been beating you down where you just didn't feel like doing shit at night.
Basically, that's the absolute truth. Where I come home and I don't want to do anything. I hate my job. Anybody out there listening that knows that they want a manufacturing scheduler, planner, supervisor, I'm a good guy. Give me a call.
For all the 5 people that listen to this and 3 of them you know.
Hey man, I'm pitching it. Don't matter. Gotta throw it out
3
there.
of them
gotta
are
find
here
feelers.
and 2 others are
Gotta network.
moms.
Yeah. All right, so
Help a brother out.
So we're back after the holiday. Hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year. I know at least Romano specifically is very happy now that I can finally stop hearing that he is unable to play Spider-Man on PS4.
Yeah, asshole.
Hey, I figured that made your Christmas. Like, you are set.
Yeah, I am. You're right. And I was telling Jess the other day, I was like, I love that.
Favorite
Made it
suit?
all worth it.
Favorite suit so far?
Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider.
Yes.
Always been a
Yes.
huge fan. Always been a huge fan.
I like that one. I was rocking the Tobey Maguire one for a little bit, but I gotta
Oh, yeah,
tell
because
you,
that was free. Yeah.
yeah, that was just there at the
Yeah.
start, so I threw that on. But of all the ones I've unlocked so far, I like the negative suit.
I do too. That is pretty badass.
fucking cool.
There's some good ones in the DLC, too, if you guys end up going down that path.
I already got it all.
Okay. Yeah, there's some...
I went full on.
There's some good ones to
Full on.
unlock in there, too. Like,
I figured Jess bought me a PlayStation 4. I gotta take full advantage.
spend all the monies.
Yes.
All right, so we are officially into 2019, so it's time to look back at 2018. We're going to rank our favorite movies from the past year. So, yes, we just did a top 10 episode, so I hope you loved it, because we're doing it again. For anyone that hasn't listened to these before, the way we do this, each of us has made a list of our top 10 movies of the past year. We have not compared the list beforehand, so there would likely be some overlap. It's fun for us to discover this as we go, just what everybody else has. We end up starting with everyone's number 10, we get everyone's 9, and so on up to everyone's favorite. After that, we will talk about a few honorable mentions that missed the cut. We'll talk about a few surprises, a few movies that disappointed us. We try to, I don't know, it's something I've tried to do is stay away from calling these movies quote unquote bad. Everyone has their own opinion, and how you feel about these movies is subjective, so they just might not be for us. They just kind of fell below our expectations, so they've disappointed us in some way. So I always try to encourage listeners, if you're curious about any of these movies that we mentioned, whether we like it or not, just seriously, just go check it out. This is just our discussion about we kind of liked and didn't like, and you can get your own opinion on some of this stuff after seeing us. Feel free to tell us how wrong we were about any of this stuff, because that's what the internet loves to do. And the one thing that I've done the past few years that I'm going to try to do on the fly as we go down the lists, I will be comparing everyone's movie picks to Rotten Tomatoes. So we will be averaging out everyone's critical and user rating reviews.
Okay, you do both. I couldn't remember if you just did one or the other or both.
I did the critical one time, and then you guys called me out that the user reviews might give people better scores. So I'm putting them both on there.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I mean, that's what Rotten Tomatoes does, so it's fair,
Yeah.
They do
so
that.
We'll see.
They let you see both.
We'll see how everybody stacks up at the end with their top 10 list and average out the scores and see. Not that we, if we could pick a winner, you're not going to get anything, but, woohoo, good for you.
Yeah, I mean, if we were picking winners, we would just make our list based on that and get a prize for it.
Yeah.
I would just look up the top 10 that all had 100% or 99.
Wait, I'm not getting a prize?
No, we're too cheap for that.
Oh,
Your prize is our company. I know.
All right, I'm done. See
You're
ya.
disappointed. See ya.
All right, and it's down to just 3.
All right, so before we get into the list, Josh actually asked us to run a couple numbers from our movie-going experiences this past year. So, Josh, I don't know if you have to set any of this up, but I'll throw it over to you, whatever you want to give us.
Yeah, no, nothing specifically. This is what is known as fodder. So this is how you fill content in time. So yeah, we're gonna talk about things. Firstly, did everybody get to see, either in theaters or once it came out on DVD, but like by the end of 2018, did everybody get to see all 10 that you had put on your anticipated list for 2018? Brian?
I did not, no. I
How
made
many-
it to 8 of the 10. I missed my number 10 from last year, and my number 9 got delayed until 2019, so I did not see that one.
Okay, that's fair. So really one.
Dude, Gambit's done. Just give it up, okay?
It's going to forever stick at number 10 until it actually ever comes out.
Yeah.
Romano.
I saw... we went through this already. I saw 9 out of my 10.
9 out of 10. All right, nice. So missed one and
Equalizer 2 was the only one that I missed.
missed Equalizer. Okay.
And I've been trying to get Jess to let me rent it, and she keeps telling me that. Which I don't understand why. She loved the first one, but she just hasn't been in the mood to watch it. So I'll just have to watch it on my own one day.
That's what you call a personal insight there, folks. Bradley, how about you?
I did.
Got all
Saw
10.
them all. Yes.
Awesome. I got all 10 as well. Next bullet point. Okay. We're not going to get spoilery. We're not going to get specifics. We're just looking for a comparison. How many that were in your anticipated of the top 10, how many of those actually ended up making it to your top 10 favorites that we'll start discussing in a couple minutes? Romano, you're up first.
Oh, no, hang on, I'm
I
counting.
know, we talked about this, and I didn't actually go through my list and make which ones.
I did. I'll go first and give them a moment.
Bradley, you're on the hot seat.
6 of my top 10 anticipated from 2018 were also in my top 10 from 2018. As a side note,
Me too.
we can put together later, because I feel like it's a little spoilery, but 4 of the top 6 are also still in the top 6.
Oh, okay. Okay, a little tease. I like that, laying the breadcrumbs. Romano, I heard you in a panic shout out your number once you got it together.
I saw 6 as well.
Okay, so 6 from the anticipated made it to the top 10 in the end.
Yes.
Out of the favorites. Okay. Brian.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like I'm 6 as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, either I really need to think harder about what I think I want to see throughout the year, or I need to look harder at like different sources to find better calendars because only 4
So
ended
maybe
up.
that means your
making
surprise list is very big.
I mean, in some ways, there's probably 2 or 3 that there's 2 on my list that I didn't know existed at the time that we did the anticipated list.
Okay.
So that's the part where I'm like, well, maybe I should look into other sources more than I've done in the past that might, have more extensive calendars or reporting laid out.
Yeah, the Netflix movies kind of sneak in under the radar.
Yeah, and that too.
Yeah.
That too.
Spoiler.
Streaming content now also makes it more difficult to predict this stuff.
Yeah.
What else? Okay. So the last 2, this was easy for me because I've collected my movie theater ticket stubs since I was like 14 or 15 years old. So it's not hard for me to put this together. But if anyone knows, how many movies would you say that you actually saw in a movie theater during 2018, whether they were on your list or not? Just in total,
I added
movies
up
that you saw in a theater.
I added up the number from my top 10.
Oh, okay.
Is this the repeat viewings ones? If we've seen the same movie in the theater more
Yeah,
times.
just total aggregate.
So I think my number for theater visits was 29.
Yeah, that's right about where I'm at. It's 28, 29.
Holy shit!
Are you blowing them out of the water, Romano? Is that why you say that?
Yeah, way, way, way out of the water. No, not even close. I'm trying to figure out how many I actually saw in theaters right now.
I can tell. Or do we have the repeat viewing question as well here, or is this just?
While we're working this out, we can throw that out. So out of say Bradley and Brian, so say like 29 or 30 you saw in a theater, take out your repeat viewings. How many unique movies would you then say, like individual movies you saw in a theater?
Wait, let me double check my tally just to make sure. 1, 2.
22 unique movies. I do have that number.
Okay, 22 unique, about 29 or 30 in total.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 23 unique.
Okay.
So you guys, okay, we're gonna. You guys saw more movies in the theater than I saw all year. So needless to say, my theater number is not that big. But it's not the size that matters.
I mean, I knew that going in.
Quality of the
I know
content.
you catch up on a lot of stuff after the fact, so I know you're a lot of renting and home video stuff.
Yeah, I think I maybe went to the movie theaters 7 times. If I'm adding it up right, I think it was maybe 7 times.
Okay.
8 tops.
But at the same time,
I only saw 22 movies all year. New movie that released in 2018.
Okay. I don't really want to tell everyone my numbers now.
Yeah, you gotta share it
because now, like I feel like now, like if this is like a scene out of a comedy about like people in their 20s talking about like their sexual partners, and everyone has like really low numbers, and then there's like the slut of the group.
Josh is the movie slut.
Movie slut.
Yeah, movie slut. That's your new title.
That's your new nickname,
Yep,
movie
it's gonna
slut.
stick. You brought it upon yourself.
Okay, so in total, looking at all of my ticket stubs in the scrapbook, and I'm going to hedge on this because Brian and I discussed before we started recording in a soon-to-come future episode, maybe talking about some of the movie theater like subscription programs that are on the market right now. Like there's Movie Pass, people know all about that. It has a lot of brand recognition, but a lot of like chain theaters like AMC, Cinemark, and others have started their own similar competing ones. So that has played a lot into what you're about to hear, and maybe
Just rip
that's
it off like a Band-Aid. Just
yeah,
Just jump in, man. Cold pool. Let's go.
57.
damn.
And if I take out my repeats, it's still 52.
That's a lot.
Now, to be fair, until like the first 2 months of the year, I still worked at a movie theater, so I got free movies there. From March till about July, before Movie Pass imploded on its own rectum. We were signed up with that. So yes, there was a cost there, but effectively it was like free movies. And then from September to the end of the year, we signed up with the AMC theater chain, which, yes, is, again, a subscription service, but you basically get free movies all month for $20. So when you do that, it makes, like, the decision whether you're going to go or not, it, like, really takes, like, the financial concern out of the equation.
Right.
Otherwise, no, I'd probably be in the same ballpark as Brian and Bradley.
That's fair.
Like, I definitely, I know I probably saw 20 movies that I absolutely would not have spent the money to see in theaters, at least.
Yeah. Is that more or less than your time working at the theater? Did you see more movies when you were at the theater full time?
I'd have to look back at, like, I was predominantly, like, the theater was my main job for about 6 months in 2017. So I'd have to look at my count during 2017 to get a good comparison. I'll do that and I'll post that in the comments section.
That's your homework for tonight.
On Facebook, where you can find all episodes and comments of Bry Guy and his Super Friends. I'll chime that in. But actually, that'll be interesting to compare. Like, was I actually doing more when I just flat out got them for free working somewhere, or have some of these other avenues, allowed me to do it even more so? But
yeah.
We shall see. So that is the end of my spiel and the human interest story side of the episode. So now let's get down to statistics and data.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting when Josh was like, "Oh, I got these questions I was going to throw out to you guys." I'm thinking, "Oh, are you going to like make some sort of like nice statistic or pie chart from all this information?" He's like, "No, I'm just curious."
I want to see charts and graphs, damn it.
So I can tell you freely.
I can work on it.
I see my number one movie 4 times.
If anybody's hiring.
In the theater.
Wait, say that again, Bradley?
I can tell you I put it together. I've seen the number 1 movie on my list 4 times in the theater. The number 2 movie was seen 3 times. The number 3 movie was seen twice. And my number 6 movie was seen twice.
I think the most I saw of any I think I did 3 of the same movie in the theater, and that was it. And I only did that for 1. Everything else was maybe, I think, twice.
I've only seen 1 movie, ever, twice in a theater.
Oh, do you remember what it was?
1 movie. Yeah, Force Awakens.
Oh, good pick.
It is a good pick, but I'm surprised.
Wait, it took you that long to see, like, your entire life? You've never seen a movie twice
no.
up until
Good
then?
Lord, the movie I've seen...
Not that I can recall.
Wow. I cannot tell you how many times I saw Jurassic Park in the theater. I can't even estimate.
I can tell you how many times I saw Return of the King and Lilo and Stitch, because it was both 4.
Independence Day was a big one for me. I think that was like 5 or 6.
Same.
So no, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I saw Force Awakens twice was because we went opening night.
Yep.
I mean, Brian, we all went on Thursday, and my dad wouldn't leave me alone about going to see it. So we had family date night. We went and saw it again, which I was totally okay with because I actually left that movie like I need to go see that again.
I know, yeah.
I did, and it probably was because it was so long since like the awesomeness of Star Wars was relived.
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation.
I don't even count the prequels.
I can tell you, I have 1 movie that I have seen twice within the first, I think it was 16 hours that it was released. And that was because it was impromptu. I had tickets reserved.
I was just about to say,
was the initial day that evening. Like, I think I had it was 5 o'clock. I had tickets
Sounds like
reserved
skull
for
poop bell to me.
But I was hanging out with some friends, and one of them suggested, "Oh, they're doing a midnight viewing up at the Mills. Let's go." And I was like, "Fuck it, let's go." That movie, and so I wound up seeing Deadpool, the first one, twice.
Knew it.
Within the first 16 hours, and I was not upset by that because it was Deadpool.
Wow.
I did something like that with the first Avengers, having the day off that it came. I did the midnight, and then I think I literally saw the first Avengers probably 3 or 4 days in a row.
Yeah. I remember you doing that
because it was like
you doing that.
I went to midnight,
but that was Star Wars,
and then it was like I kept finding people that were like, I haven't seen it, and I was like, I'll go. And I had off. It was like it was either a Saturday or a Friday that I took off because I had seen the midnight show, and then somebody else was off in the afternoon. I was like, I'll go, and then I had plans to go see it with friends that evening, so I went in the afternoon and then again at evening in the same day.
Didn't you do that with Force Awakens also?
I may have.
I feel like you did that. I feel like you did that too, because I remember like you seeing that like 4 or 5 times in like 1 week.
Yeah, it was. I think
if I recall correctly,
Force Awakens was probably like 3 times in 4 days or something like that.
Yeah.
See, the closest anything comes like that for me, not like many repeat viewings, but the anecdote that I told on the last episode about seeing Frozen, because it had come out on DVD, but it was still showing in theaters because it was still making money.
Yeah.
So someone wanted to take me who hadn't seen it either, and I was like, all right, sure. And then I got to a friend of ours, of Sarah and I's, who had bought it on Blu-ray like earlier that week. And they're like, we're going to watch Frozen tonight. It's so good. I'm like, okay. So I don't know. I might have beaten your record because I watched the same movie twice within like 6 hours.
Josh was letting it go hard.
Oh, things were being let go all over the place.
All right, so should we get into the list now?
Yeah,
let's get into the list. Let's
All right, so we figured out the order beforehand, so we're going to go Mike Romano, Mike Bradley, Josh, and myself. So starting with Romano for your number 10.
I mean, it's not a surprise that my list is going to be, for the most part, based off of comic book movies. So, again, only saw 21 or 22 all year.
Still more than Andy.
True.
Yeah. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people poo-pooed the original the first Ant-Man. I still like it.
One of them's on this
podcast. Why
podcast.
I like it. I think it's funny. Huh?
One of them's on this podcast.
That's right, Bradley. You hated it.
No, well, the other one.
Try again.
Yeah, no, I loved Ant-Man.
Well, I thought Ant-Man, because it's very rare that I think a sequel is ever better than the first one, and I truly thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was better than the first one. I thought it was a great story. It was awesome. I like how they tied it together too, even with like the whole, Thanos thing of Infinity War and like towards the end there.
Yeah.
Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Don't get too specific because.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I everything about it. Because we all know that Marvel is not exactly one for their villain.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked what the hell's her name?
Hannah John Kamen.
Ghost, yeah, that's it.
Playing Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost. But yeah, I liked it. I liked oh fuck, what the hell is his name? The black
Goliath,
guy.
Bill Foster.
Yeah, Goliath. Yeah. There you go.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne. I wanted to call him by
Morpheus.
His, Matrix. Yeah, that's it. Morpheus. Yeah.
Morpheus was amazing.
I liked his character in it. I just thought it was great. It was a good Marvel movie. It was it had its funny jokes, had its serious moments, and I don't know. I don't know. I think I like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. I don't know. It's really weird.
Smulchen did not disappoint.
Evangeline Lilly was awesome in it.
Yeah, she did.
Total badass. So yeah, I thought it was. It made the list.
Do not let Baba Yaga come for you.
Yeah.
I could have used 30% more.
Yeah.
More Desmulchen.
Well, that was my biggest fear, that they were going to do the whole Michael Pena storytelling thing, like because it was so awesome in the first one.
Yeah.
I would hope
you put a quarter in, you got to let him go.
Yeah.
That was. It was great.
And it was cool, like how like the cars were like in a Matchbox container and stuff like that. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
It was just all around fun.
Yeah, I think the Marvel movies always have a sense of humor, but I still feel like the Ant-Man movies, between Ant-Man and the Wasp, those two are more just like straight up comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they lean a lot more into the humor.
I'd put them right with Thor Ragnarok, that used the same kind of
fair.
thing.
Yeah,
like that steered into that skid 100%, and it worked. And I still think it works for Ant-Man.
Thor Ragnarok is still by far one of my favorite Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
Very
it's
strongly.
up there.
Yeah.
Just because that's like one of those ones that like we could just throw in, like, and Jess loves it too. Like, you can just throw it in and just watch it at basically any given time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Josh, you got anything to add for Ant-Man and the Wasp? You've been kind of quiet.
If you don't have anything,
he needs the truth
say.
serum. He needs the truth serum.
It's just you don't have to. If all someone's gonna do is shit on something, then they just they don't need to say it.
Fair enough.
Oh,
there were parts of it that I
you
thought
still didn't like Ant-Man and the Wasp either.
not that much. I thought some parts of it that they chose, like some choices they made, were creative and imaginative, like the Matchbox car, carrying case that you mentioned. I did enjoy Evangeline Lilly,
Walton Goggins
being able to. But
Sorry.
that was the thing. I could have I would have loved much more screen time for those guys.
Yeah.
My problem with it mostly was story structure and overall writing. Like, I don't feel like anything happened in that movie. Like, I couldn't tell you what the story was. I couldn't. Like, there's not. I wouldn't necessarily say like, well, there was no clear villain. It doesn't necessarily just come down to that. Like, I think the whole like subplot as to who the hell is Walton Goggins' character working for, I don't think it matters. I don't think they intend to tell us. I don't think it was material. It's just there. Why can't he just be working for?
Sorry.
I'm
just kidding. It's wishful thinking that we get Sam Rockwell back. That's all it is.
Oh, I know. But then like it comes. I don't know. I just feel like when you really look at what happens, like they were dealing with a conflict, but there wasn't anything bigger than that. Like there wasn't really a problem occurring. There was not like it felt like devoid of like the typical storytelling structure in a way.
I felt like that was a good thing for the movie itself, though. Instead of telling a story about how the entire city is threatened because of what this villain's doing, they were telling a story of somebody in the villain Ghost that was willing to do whatever was needed to survive. And that drove her to do even really bad things. But just because she didn't want to die.
There was a friend of mine who I enjoy his take on things. He's a very... he's not like a professional writer, but in my opinion, he sort of is. The way that he breaks things down, he basically said that entire movie was like one big MacGuffin. Every action that occurred, every scene that was written was just so that the next thing could happen. The next thing had a reason to happen, as opposed to there being like a logical or an organic story to be followed. And like I said, and I think it, like I said, for me personally, I think it suffered by cutting down on things like, I don't think they utilized Michael Pena and his crew as much as they could have in a bigger way. Like they were in scenes where it made sense for them to write a scene, and then like they were out of it. They weren't as integrated into the fabric of things as much anymore. They said it was just maybe some just like overall production choices leave me not liking those as much as a lot of the other solo characters.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to win Josh over on your arguments. I think it's better just to let it slide and go.
It's fair.
All right. Good pick for your 10. Bradley, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Bad Times at the El Royale. This movie was... I felt like it had the potential to be much better than it was, but it was still very good.
That's a good way to put that.
It was trying to incorporate... I don't know, it felt like it was trying to use like parts of a Tarantino movie, parts of a Scorsese movie, it felt like it had a lot of this stuff going on, and then you got these excellent performances out of people that brought it back in, and a very interesting story that I feel like... I don't know if you guys have seen... Who has actually seen this?
I have.
Brian? Did you?
I did not. No.
Okay.
Again, 20 movies all year.
Hey, Drew Goddard doesn't make movies very often. This is only number 2. So, I can't say that without being a spoiler. Do we care about spoilers?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yeah, you're trying to sell us on wanting to see these movies, so...
Yeah, we're going into this assuming people are listening to this without seeing a lot of these movies, and they're looking for either recommendations or, steering away from stuff.
Okay, fair enough. I think that this movie came up short in very minimal ways, but the interesting story that was built around the characters was worth seeing. It was a little bit long. It sounds like I'm saying this movie was bad. Like I said, this movie is like a little nudge away from winning the Best Picture Oscar. Like it's that close to that kind of film that
it teetered right on the edge of like being so great and then it just a couple things here and there.
Yeah, like you get these, all these people that are at the El Royale Hotel, and you get their individual stories as to why they're there, what has happened, and all this that pieces it together. And
this is the one with like Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges and
John Hamm,
Chris
Hamm,
Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Dakota Johnson.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's honestly, each one of the individual stories has its own flair to it and own interesting bits and mystery, and it, like I said, you just want it to be so much more, but it's still damn enjoyable. And listening to Chris Hemsworth try an American accent is hilarious. Personally,
which he has pulled off better in other movies.
Yeah, I think this time he was going for California. Like, he was going for that California American accent, and it just was like, ooh. If that's intentionally that ridiculous, it's good. But there's also very noticeable things that you can find out about Chris Hemsworth in this movie that I'm not going to get into who or what or why, but he has a relationship with one of the other characters in the film, but it is very subdued because of Chris Hemsworth's real-life wife will not actually allow him to be intimate in any way, shape, or form with another woman on screen for movies. If you notice, like, even the scenes in Thor with Natalie Portman, it's very reserved. She is very possessive of him. There's stories out there about this you could read about. It's interesting. And it kind of... I feel like that itself downplayed part of his character. Like, the presence of...
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you've seen it. You see what I'm saying. I'm not trying to spoil
more of
anything.
that, like... Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Given the ability to have more of a very direct physical presence with that other character on
changes
screen
things
would have,
even more.
Yeah, and it also would have done a lot to strengthen the impression you have of what their relationship is.
Yes, exactly.
Otherwise, you're left to like with a little bit of ambiguity, and you're
that's
like,
not good for that character.
Am I supposed to care about this as much as I think they want me to? Because they're not. There's more that could be shown.
Yes.
More that could be portrayed.
Yes. But yeah, in general, it's definitely worth seeing. I would not say that this movie has great replayability, because once you know, it's kind of like, I mean, even Logan is as good as a movie Logan was. That's the one I always come back to when I think of replayability. I absolutely loved Logan, but I never have to watch it again. I have watched it again, but you don't. It's so visceral, you don't necessarily need to see it again. I feel like this movie doesn't make me want to watch it over and over again, even though I respect the content.
I gotcha.
Fair.
Yeah, I think as you said before, like Drew Goddard has been more of a ideas man. He's been a writer, a producer, showrunner on a lot. I think his only other directing credit was Cabin in the Woods.
Yes.
Which is, we've spoken about previously, is one of the damn best horror thriller movies, in my personal opinion, made in at least the last 25 years, if not like arguably, I think you could put on the table as ever. Like it holds up. It's so imaginative, and him and the other Mr. Buffy, Avenger,
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon. Holy shit! I can't believe his name fell out of my head.
Like, who's he going for here?
Mr. Buffy. What the hell?
they co-wrote it together, and Goddard directed it. So he hasn't been behind the camera all that much exclusively, but compositionally he put a really good movie together, and it is really enjoyable. I think, like especially you guys knowing your tastes, I think you actually would dig it. Like Mike has said, like you might not be left with the desire to watch it again and again, but it's pretty entertaining.
You talking about Cabin in the Woods or
no? I'm sorry, Bad Times at the El Royale.
Okay.
Yeah. I still contest that everybody will love Cabin in the Woods no matter what, but.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I thought Bad Times looked interesting from the trailers and stuff. I just didn't get around to seeing it. I don't think it's on home video or anything yet to rent or anything like that. But
I think it
should be
actually
soon,
just
if not.
today or yesterday became available to rent.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, it's one I plan on trying to catch up on sometime later. I just haven't got around to it yet.
It's a solid 2.5 hours. So you got to set some time aside for it. It like I didn't know it was that long when I went to the theater. And in the theater, you definitely noticed the length. It started to wear on, and you're like, wow, this is going longer than I thought it was. I didn't look at the time for this. But knowing ahead of time, you can be prepared.
Fair enough. All right, so we move on to Josh's number 10.
Gentlemen, if I said to you, Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown, Sophia Botella, Jeff Goldblum, Zachary Quinto, Jenny Slate, Charlie Day, and Dave Bautista, would you say, why haven't I seen that movie yet, and where is it right now?
Honestly, I think I kind of forgot about this movie, and I think I know which one you're going to talk about.
You had
right
me
now.
at Sophia Botella, but go
Because
ahead.
my number 10, we're going from the setting at one hotel at Bad Royale to Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, I actually kind of I remember those trailers looking interesting, and I completely forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
That's another one I'm going to have to rent now.
This was one that I think we had the discussion at some point last year where, these things that like come out of nowhere and like a month before they release to theaters, you see a preview for them or a story online. You're like, what is this? Wait a minute, what? So you're not like aware of it, months and months ahead of time when you put this together. This was really cool. It was a really solid cast. It's obviously like an ensemble cast, similar to El Royale and some of the others that I'm sure we'll discuss. But the premise was really cool. The background of it is, I wouldn't call it like, oh, it's a dystopian future. It's just like, say in a couple of years, things have just tipped over the edge a little bit, and like Los Angeles is in a little bit of, like a degraded state, and it's just a little shifty. There's some like public riots going on, a lot of discourse. Well, Hotel Artemis, the premise, and I think this is in the preview, so this isn't a spoiler, but the idea is the hotel is like a safe haven. It's like a truce ground for criminals who are injured or seeking asylum. Mostly if they're injured, but they can kind of call it for like it's a safe base, sort of like the Continental in John Wick.
That's what I was just thinking.
Right? It really does service also like as mostly as a hospital, but every now and then, like the people who run it will allow people who just want safe harbor to be there shortly. But there's given that idea, then of course the idea is, okay, you have all these people together. Something's got to go wrong. Something's got to be the spark that sets the ignition off, and so then your plot drives from there. It is really, really cool. I think it's a pretty solid like hour and 25 minutes, hour and a half. There's not a lot of fluff to it. It reminded me of what most movies that were made, 15 to 20 years ago were like, where there wasn't a tie to some previous IP. or a franchise or a character. It was just a movie. It was an idea that somebody had and somebody wrote and somebody financed and someone produced and someone distributed. And it's got a good cast of actors. Jodie Foster is really, really good in this. Between this and Black Panther, like never having watched This Is Us or other stuff he's done really, these two movies have turned me into a big Sterling K. Brown fan. I think he's like, between those two movies, he is such a relaxed, natural, fluid actor. One of the few people, like, you really only maybe see 2 or 3 roles a year, I think, where you say, this person's not even acting. This, like, whatever they are doing is just coming off so natural, but then everything you see them in is so different that you know that it's not like, oh, they can only play themselves. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. So yeah, I wish I could have put it higher on my list, but I ended up enjoying other things so much more this year that were like really banner stuff or good return to forms for some other things. In any other mix, like this could have been a halfway mark. This could have been like a nice solid 6 or 7 probably. But I would I would definitely recommend Hotel Artemis.
Did anybody else see this one? Because I did not.
No.
Okay. I guess you're on your own, Josh, but I will take your word for it because it is one I wanted to check out. So I'm gonna have to come back to that one later too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll go to my number 10. My number 10 is Tomb Raider.
It's a good choice.
I think they actually did a really, really solid job on this reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. I think Alicia Vikander killed it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They did a really good job, I think. And maybe it's something that I don't remember if they really did for like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raiders, but like they focused on Laura and her like puzzle solving skills. Like there was actually like some tombs to be raided and puzzles to get there, and you know how they explain the myth into reality for for the plot of the movie, I think worked really well. Would love to see them do a sequel. I don't know if they will. I don't know if it made enough money and got enough recognition, but I really liked it. It kind of surprised me. So I put it as my number 10.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I like it.
Honestly, that was the first one off my list. Like, it was, if I had 11, that would be number 11 for me. And it's definitely the far and away best Tomb Raider movie they've ever made. It may also be one of the best, if not the best, video game related movie based on a video game to be made.
Yeah, I think if you've played the most recent Tomb Raiders, like specifically the Square Enix Tomb Raider and then Square Enix's Rise of the Tomb Raider, there's a lot of stuff from those two games that they incorporate in this movie for the better, because those games are really, really solid. Some of the plot of the movie, I think, like kicks into gear really quickly. Like it tries to go to the next thing very quickly and kind of might throw you a little bit, but there's a point in the first act, right at the end of the first act, I feel like that just suddenly it's like, okay, we're going now.
Yeah. You're right. No, you're right.
And I feel like this was the action-adventure type of flick that has really been absent in a decent form for a while. This type of movie where, you know, like the Indiana Jones-esque kind of adventure that this was, we didn't even get out of the last Indiana Jones movie. So we're getting it back because movies like this, like National Treasure, I love these kinds of movies. I want them more and more and more, and we just don't get many of them, and it's really the only one like that this year.
This is a lot in the vein of what I want an Uncharted movie to be.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But
I want another National Treasure movie.
That too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, since I don't think the National Treasure movies did very well at the box office, everybody seems to like them, but I don't think they make a lot of money. And this movie also, I don't think, made a lot of money. So I think people are taking, Hollywood's going to take the wrong lessons from this. And it's going to be people don't like these movies, we're not going to make them.
I think a second Tomb Raider would make a lot more once this movie's been around the Netflix block and people see how good this movie is. The hype for it, I think, on a second movie would be a lot better. Because after,
Yeah.
honestly, the absolute trash that was the last Tomb Raider movie that came out, I think a lot of people would have been hesitant to invest their time and money in going to the theater for this.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I didn't catch it until it was the HBO free weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got around to it at least because I think it's fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got a couple, but I bet you out of my 22 movies I saw, I bet you 5 or 6 of them came from the HBO free weekend.
There's a lot of good
Weekend.
ones
That's
on
one way to
there
catch
right
up.
now. There really
So
is.
did
HBO's
you-
got a good lineup right now.
Have you ended up adding HBO?
Fuck no, I'm gonna get rid of my cable.
So on the one hand, I was going to say like, oh look, that's proof HBO that like your free marketing weekends work, but
Oh,
apparently
no.
not at friggin' all.
No, well, it took all year to get like 5 movies.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the last time they just had it right before New Year's.
Mhm.
I recorded 2 movies and 2 of them, 3. I recorded 3 movies and 2 of them were old movies that I just wanted to watch that I hadn't watched in a long time.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
HBO for me is bound in with my cheapest possible cable plan somehow. My cable television comes with like local only 2 to 19, whatever it is. Like that's my channels on television and HBO.
Oh, I wish.
I pay for as little as possible, and they were like, "Well, you get HBO for free when you do this package with internet." Okay, well, I'll take it.
You got to get your thrones on.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be buying that season one way or the other. You know, like but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it's there because HBO has had a lot of good content lately.
Well, in terms of Tomb Raider, I would say like coming from like a non-gamer, it's been at least 15 to 16 years since I've watched the Angelina Jolie ones. I think I saw each of them once, and that was it. Like at around the time they came out.
Right.
And I would actually, if they're gonna make a sequel, I would love them. Like to your guys' point about Indiana Jones, National Treasure, like especially the National Treasure movies. I freaking love those. Like legitimately, like really, really like those movies a lot. I wouldn't mind if they punched up those aspects in a sequel a lot more. Like the action is great. Like it's nice. Like if it felt with this, like you can take Indiana Jones and turn it up to 11 in terms of the stunts and the situations she finds herself in. And like she's supposed to be able to handle herself. She's supposed to be athletic and have those survival skills and all of that kind of stuff. So you can punch that aspect up, but I really would have liked them to integrate the puzzle aspect more. From that short Uncharted fan film thing they made with Fillion,
Right.
like put that like deep history stuff into it. If you know, you like let's nerd out a little bit. Like whatever you have to do, if you're even going to like be in one location, like really layer on to get from A to B. There's going to be 6 obstacles in your way, and like really layer on the knowledge in each of them. Tell me all the background about why it matters to get from this thing to this thing and everything. Like that's, I think, really enjoyable.
Tomb Raider, this movie's instance in particular, I wouldn't have minded the movie being 20, 30 minutes longer if that's what they were
Agreed.
adding in. Leave all the action that's there, leave all that stuff in, just add more of what they were telling you about whatever the Chinese...
Himiko,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Add more of that. Tell me more
I think
about
the difference
the whole thing.
between like the National Treasure stuff and this movie, the National Treasure is definitely like globe-trotting, and the one clue leads to the next clue that tends you somewhere else. Tomb Raider is a lot focused on just survival. She's stranded on the island
Right.
without anything, and it's more about staying alive as opposed to solving the puzzles to get to where she needs to go.
Right.
I mean, that's a big
Okay.
part of it, but that's not survival. I think is more the focus because there's a lot of brutal shit that happens in that movie to her, just based on trying to stay alive, which doesn't
True.
happen to Nicolas Cage when he's globetrotting in National Treasure.
Sure. Okay. So I mean, so then maybe if the foundation of it is not necessarily like solving things based on lore or history per se, but something that will help her survive is getting from wherever she finds herself to the other end of that river or the top of that mountain or through the jungle, and you can make up some bullshit about local tribe history that will aid in the survival aspect per se.
Well, I think,
but
that was
punching up, like I said, just the problem solving. I think
right.
Maybe that's what it comes down to. Give me more
mystery,
okay.
where there's a problem solving analytic to it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think that would explain this movie, but for a sequel like you're talking about, I would rather like to see some sort of globe-trotting adventure for her to go on, following those clues. I think that would be better. But at least, now I'm trying to remember, because I haven't played the latest game. I haven't played Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I'm pretty sure Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider are more confined adventures.
Yes.
Like, somehow she's stranded and, again, trying to survive and just make it through to the end. It's a lot... There's not... it's not a globe-trotting adventure in these games, so I don't know if they're taking inspiration from the games, if they would keep if they make a sequel, keep it confined like that on another island, or if they'd actually expand to something globe-trotting. But yeah, I'm with you, Josh. I'd like to see more of that aspect of it, because now that she's made it through this movie, like they set it up as like she is now the Lara Croft that we know from the games and can do a lot more. So that would lend itself to more of a globe-trotting adventure, I think. Top rotation, Romano's number 9.
All right, so my number 9 was also one of my surprise movies, which I was not expecting, and I knew nothing about, to be honest with you. And just on a whim, I ended up watching it just because it was there and I was bored, didn't have anything to do. Was The Outlaw King on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Good to get a recommendation on this. I didn't know how it turned out.
I was a huge Braveheart fan, but Braveheart is not exactly the most historically accurate movie there is out
not
there.
Even close.
Okay.
Like
they
at
didn't
all.
even have kilts
like at all
for hundreds of years later.
Yeah. Like at all. But and who's in a Chris Pine fan? I mean, gotta love little Chris Pine.
No one.
Do you have to love the little Chris
Pine?
Pine? Because I watched
like
this
Chris
movie
Pine.
too.
I mean,
do you have to love the little Chris Pine? Because you get a little bit more familiar with Chris Pine in this movie than I would have liked.
Yeah, exactly. That was the one thing.
Oh, that could be a good selling point to Sarah.
his wife, man, she's hot. But honestly, it was great. It was after the whole William Wallace thing. Basically, when he was drawn and quartered and put up all over the place. He plays Robert the Bruce, basically. And it's much more historically accurate, and it's got the gore. I mean, it's got the not the gore, but like it's got the live battle scenes that you would become familiar with if you've seen Braveheart. You get that up close personal combat. And it was a good story. It was really good. I was really surprised.
I would,
because it was like right after it had come out. It was released on Netflix like maybe a couple days after I saw it. I was like, I saw it pop up on Netflix as like a suggested movie and like new release, and I was like, with nothing on TV. I was like, fuck it, I'll just watch this. And I was like, this is really good.
Yeah, they were hyping it for a couple weeks before they actually put it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say it was even a bit more brutal than Braveheart was.
Yeah, it might. You're right, because there was some more little grotesqueness, like especially when that one dude got hung.
Yeah.
Ooh, we'll just leave it at that.
And it's the same with technology. We're more advanced than how we can do those kind of things than we were 25 years ago with Braveheart.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I thought it was very good. Absolutely. This one still has its issues with historical inaccuracies, just like any film is going to. Like, I don't think I've ever watched...
You take liberties. Liberties.
I mean, even Gettysburg was a joke historically.
That was based off a book, that's
right,
why.
But it's
I think it was based off a place, too.
Suppose...
Yeah, based on a place. We want to go to Gettysburg. I can give you a whole lesson.
But you know me. I have the degree in history, and I still see that stuff in movies, and it still bugs me. Even though I know that no movie is historically accurate, I still see things that I'm like, come on. But okay, for the movie. But the movie was entertaining. Chris
I mean, I still love
Pine's junk
Braveheart, even
aside-
though I know it's not even closely historically accurate.
No, it's
so.
still entertaining. It's still a good story.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, Chris Pine's junk aside, and there was
Spoiler.
yeah, spoiler. You're gonna see Chris Pine's junk when you least expect it.
I never at least expect it.
I least expect it because it's Chris Pine, and there was no reason. Like it was completely. Like,
Yeah.
I think they
Really shocked,
you don't see any. There's barely any nudity in this thing at all, if any other. I don't think there's any other
That was it.
nudity in this.
That was
And
it.
He's just like bathing in a little pond, and he just steps out, and it's just like, oh, they had to pan the camera at that angle so that you saw Chris Pine's junk. This seems.
Well, there was the sex scene too, but that was it.
It's just like.
Yeah.
Well, there's enough like unnecessary, superfluous female nudity in movies. Maybe some creator was like, "Screw that, we're going the other way."
Honestly, I've heard Pine in interviews say that's pretty much why he did it.
Oh, really?
Like that, it's just like women are pretty much, expected to be nude in movies. So he's like, "Oh, I could do that."
Yeah, good for him.
But do even women enjoy floppy wiener? I mean, I'm just putting it out there. Like, I don't know anybody that enjoys like.
It's not the most attractive thing on the planet.
Yeah,
Well, and any listeners who enjoy the male form, please chime in, I guess, and give us your
The
feedback
flaccid.
on.
No,
on
male
I was
form.
about to say hit Bradley up on the social medias and tell him how much you like floppy dicks, but then I realized he's not on social media anymore, so we can't even do that.
that's right.
We will relay all of your messages to Bradley.
Yeah.
Please
You
leave
can
them in the comment
absolutely
section.
say that you enjoy the male anatomy all you want, but let's just keep in mind that we're talking about the flaccid male anatomy. Okay, I'm not talking the rest.
It's
Whatever.
the forbidden fruit. He's a celebrity. He's an actor. It's different.
Whatever you want to say about it.
All right, we spent way too long on Chris Pine's penis, so if we could move it along.
That's
here.
what she said.
Sorry. Well, did she?
So, all right. I'm sorry,
I
Romano.
mean, you
is
can
that
still
all?
talk about the movie. Just move on from the penis talk. Like we.
I'm done talking about the movie.
I
you
absolutely
got my
recommend
vote.
watching it. Brian, the gore may be a little much for you at times, but
Yeah, I'm already hearing it's probably not for me, but that's fine.
I mean, if you got through Braveheart and it didn't bother you, you'll be okay. If you didn't get through Braveheart
There's only one spot.
then
There's only really one spot that would probably really gross you out, and it was when a dude gets hung. So, I mean, we'll just leave it there. So, if you start watching it and you see a guy about to get strung up, just turn your head for a little bit.
All right, we'll see, but probably not. that's I appreciate you guys looking out.
I'm just trying to help, Ryan.
I know, I appreciate it. I don't know, Josh. You have anything to add for this? Because I don't.
I know I didn't get around to it yet, but it because I think this only came out in finally released in like November, I think, maybe late October.
It was November, early December, maybe.
Okay,
I
so
think,
that's been
actually.
that
It
long.
wasn't long
It's definitely
Yeah.
on the to watch list. It looked intriguing, and like they definitely put a budget behind it, and who doesn't like Chris Pine? So
Yeah.
I like history movies and all that, so yeah, I'll get there eventually. But nope, don't have much material substance to add right now.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that I saw like some guys that were in Braveheart in this movie too. I'm not saying for sure.
That's like their
and
niche
I
as
didn't
actors.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't like go in and like fact check that,
Uh-huh.
so don't bust me on it if I'm wrong. But
Well, I'm looking it
I
up
felt
right
like
now.
there was a couple people.
Everyone bust him on it, please do.
I feel like I just feel like there were a couple like background characters and stuff like that that probably didn't even have a line. They just looked familiar, and I'm like, man, I think I seen them in Braveheart. It's like one of those things.
That's their only 2 IMDb credits.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe Rob Roy.
background actor in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to Bradley's number 9.
My number 9, and I would say the same for my 8 and my number 7, is really a result of the fact that any one of my top 6 could have been my number 1. Any other year, this goes way higher, but I feel like this year it was just so packed full at the top of the list that Mission Impossible Fallout falls to my number 9 slot.
Okay.
Like I said, I can't tell you enough about how much I love the rest of the movies on my list, other than saying Mission Impossible Fallout is at number 9. In any other year, this would be in the top 3. This movie was exciting from start to finish, was the first time that we get some actual continued story in a Mission Impossible movie that is like an actual linear continuation.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Henry Cavill, amazing. My biggest criticism watching all the trailers was like the way that they pieced together the bathroom fight scene in this movie to make it seem like Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill were having it out in that bathroom, even though they in fact were not. It was interesting the way they did that in the trailers. Well, my problem with it was at the time I'm watching it, I'm like, Tom Cruise is in his 50s and he's 5'2", and Henry Cavill is in his 20s or early 30s and he's fucking Superman. I had an issue with that whole setup, and seeing that fight scene alone, that fight scene was absolutely incredible. The helicopter sequence, unbelievable. It's Mission Impossible at its best. The action sequences in the movie were incredible, and they're telling this awesome story at the same time. These movies, it's hard, like the whole movie could be potentially a spoiler, so I'm trying to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to tiptoe on this one.
Well, to your point too about like, the way the trailers were made, the trailers spoil the end of the movie. If you've seen the trailers, the third act finale is in the trailers. So if you are curious about this movie, I would recommend not watching the trailers and just go see it.
Yes.
But I also love this movie too. Spoilers is going to show up on my list sometime later, and I probably could gush about this thing for a while. These movies, this franchise has turned into like, what stunts does Tom Cruise want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've listened to way too many long podcasts with Christopher McQuarrie, who wrote and directed this one and Rogue Nation. And for both movies, it seems like they come with specific set pieces they want to do. So like the helicopter sequence, the Halo jump, Tom Cruise had to train for that stuff like a year and a half in advance. And they didn't even have a script.
Yeah.
And they are making the script as they're making the movie. So they came with it with stunts, and then they're just trying to connect the dots in the story. Which, when you think about that, is fucking mind-blowing, because this movie makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no plot holes that really stand out, so it amazes me that between Rogue Nation and Fallout, these stories are so coherent, and yet they're making them up on the fly.
So wait, was Tom Cruise really piloting that helicopter?
Yes.
And he really did the Halo jump?
Yes.
Fuck, that's awesome. I like Tom Cruise.
And he actually broke his
Scientology
ankle
aside.
jumping from the top of one building to another building.
See, I knew that.
Like,
I did know that he did break his ankle on that one. Yeah.
On the Blu-ray for Fallout, every special feature is just Tom Cruise learning how to do a stunt.
I gotta watch that special features then. I gotta rerun it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's every, because I tried watching them thinking I'd get more of the making of the movie. No, it's just like, well, what stunt can Tom Cruise do now?
Yeah, and honestly,
So there's the Halo jump, there's the helicopter piloting, the when he's hanging from the bottom of the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
I think they talk about the roof jump, him driving a motorcycle down through downtown Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're telling me is Tom Cruise is the real Superman.
Ooh.
It could be.
That's what I'm hearing.
Tom Cruise gets more credit from me for doing his own stunts in a movie that has stunts like this. You've heard a lot about other actors doing their own stunts, and you see those stunts, and you're like, okay.
I felt
that. An example comes to me is like Charlie Cox doing a lot of the stuff in Daredevil, and it's like, okay, that. It's cool that you did that, but Tom Cruise just literally, nearly intentionally, crashes a helicopter and saves it. Like that. Yeah. That's what. You don't have an actor the level of Tom Cruise doing shit like that in a movie, and it's amazing they allow him to do it.
And it's something to be said for this franchise that, they don't make movies like this anymore that are doing practical stunts.
Yeah.
That, he's probably got some wire work help on some of the stuff, but it's still him doing a lot of these stunts that I think most people would do with a CG background.
Yep. Yeah, just because you have things in place for safety or whatnot, you're right. It's practically executed. It doesn't mean you don't have to have a safety net or use your brain, but you're right. The fact that it's not just a computer generated image is what really makes it stand out. And I was thinking about it. am pretty sure this is the first Mission Impossible movie that I actually saw in theaters. Everything else I saw, even the last two, was it Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol?
Yeah.
I saw after the fact. I think this is the very first one I ever saw in a theater.
And how was that experience for you? Because I feel like it was awesome in the theater.
It was a good theater experience. I'm glad that
you did see like 57 movies in the theater.
Wasn't hard to, yeah.
Me.
But I don't know. I think if I had seen it at home, I would have had as good of a viewing experience as I did the last two or three.
Because I feel like this is a movie like
this was
made to be
theater.
bigger and louder. Like IMAX. Yeah. This is something you want to see in IMAX.
Yeah, yeah.
IMAX definitely adds some vertigo to some of the stunts in this movie.
Yeah. Sorry, Bradley. I feel like I kind of hijacked.
No.
Gushing about it.
You know what? I know you with Mission Impossible, and I know it's higher on your list. I knew ahead of time, but like I said, to me it just stands to how good this year of movies was, and that I feel like so many of these movies were just outstanding, and I'll watch probably all of this top 10 with the exception of Bad Times at El Royale. I will watch many, 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 many more times over the coming years.
That's fair. Just sort of a PSA for anyone that is curious. If you want a really good insight into how these movies were made between Rogue Nation and Fallout, check out Christopher McQuarrie on the Empire podcast. For Rogue Nation, I think he did like 3 hours talking about the making of the movie. And for Fallout, he did 2 different episodes that were about 2.5 hours each.
Holy shit.
And it's just him talking about the writing process, how they came up with ideas, how things were formed organically. And you hear about how much they just sort of made up on the fly, where they went into a location trying to scout it, not knowing what they're going to shoot and how they're going to do it. And they just kind of made it up.
Nice.
So for anyone that likes behind the scenes stuff, it's really, really interesting.
I mean, you would not in a million years would you ever guess that, because these movies don't look sloppy.
Right, exactly.
They tie up their loose ends, and their story elements are pretty tight.
Because it was like, they go on record saying one of the best things to happen in that movie was Tom Cruise breaking his ankle. Because they had a couple, like a month and a half or something to try to nail down the story and get everything right. And then they picked up when he came back, and they had stuff in place then that they knew what they were going to try to do. So, yeah, I guess everything happens for a reason, one way or the other. All right, anything else to add for Fallout? Or we can go to Josh. All right, Josh, you're number 9.
This is the first of 2 past franchises that got, I definitely don't want to use the word rebooted, but got revisited and continued this year. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I haven't picked it up on Blu-ray yet, but I'm sure I will at some point and add it to the collection. I could watch this pretty often for a while. I liked it a lot. My number 9 is the Shane Black Predator.
Oh.
Okay.
I think I said going in last year that there's something about Boyd Holbrook, who's the lead in that. He's similar to how I said about like Sterling K. Brown with Hotel Artemis. Like, he's kind of come into my radar the last like year or two, especially after Logan. And I've seen a couple other things he was in since then, including this. And I don't know. I really dig him when he's on screen. He's got a command of his presence when he's in a scene. And I liked the story choices that they made. I thought that they could have gone somewhere very silly or really out of left field. They definitely opened up the overall fabric of the world, if you will, of the Predator and that species and where he comes from and his, I don't want to say like just history per se, but like it's not just, Predators on Earth and people have to stop them again and they're in a situation. They opened it up a bit deeper than that. and it could have gone off the rails pretty easily. I thought they did a good job at reining it in. It was interesting because I felt like from time to time, like scene to scene, every now and then, there were moments where they kind of just like jumped from one arc of the story to another, like within the same characters, but it was almost like, well, we're done with this part now, and we're moving on to the next. And it wasn't as seamless or organic as it probably could have been.
Okay.
But other than that, for like returning to a franchise so many years later, with such a notable, iconic character and whatnot, yeah, I dug it a lot.
Yeah, I did not see that, so I don't know if anybody else can chime in that has seen it.
I actually was there for that whole marathon day with Josh.
Yeah,
oh, that's right.
So it was, to me, I can't say enough about how much I love Thomas Jane in this movie.
Yeah, right. As like a supporting character.
Yeah, Thomas Jane is a supporting character who has an issue with Tourette's, and him and Keegan-Michael Key are the comedic relief in this to fantastic fashion. It's something that they needed, because some of the more tense scenes, they really serve to cut the tension that was not necessarily, I think, building as good as it could be, because it's a Predator movie and we all know what's about to happen. So it loses that tension just based on the series, not based on the quality of the film.
Good point.
Yeah, we're what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Predator movies now?
If you count the Alien vs. Predator too, it's
So, there's not a whole lot of like, so that to me makes the movie rewatchable. The rest of it is fantastic. I agree with Josh on this. It didn't make my personal list, but I mean, one, it's Olivia Munn, and who can't watch that for a while? She's good.
That's a good point. I liked that she was not just eye candy in this movie.
She was for a little bit.
Oh, a little bit, yes, but mostly like I think this. If anyone has seen the movie like Office Christmas Party, or Newsroom, I love her roles in that too, because she can absolutely play a strong, smart person. She's in my opinion, yes, very attractive, but she does not have like she has more of a strength playing a strong lead character as opposed to just eye candy.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, it's like she's that good of an actress. And there are moments where they use that, but she's also like, she fires it right back at this, group of military guys and partial, I don't want to say like ex-cons per se, but they kind of are. And like she holds her own with them, and not just in a like, over the top warrior soldier kind of way, but more like, I can fire your shit right back at you. Like you're
right.
not, I'm not the character. I'm not the person you think I am. Like it fit very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't get enough credit for her talent because of where she came from, in my personal opinion. Was she with IGN, I think? Is that, or
G4.
Yeah. And that just, I think that puts a damper a lot on how she got treated earlier in her career, and that perhaps she's starting to break past that a little bit now. Movies like The Predator aren't necessarily the A-list type movie roles that she could be playing. But yeah, she can absolutely act with the best of actresses around today if she gets the chance.
And that's another thing is I think, like I said about Boyd Holbrook, is I think when she's on screen for me, there's like, to me, like she owns it. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to like see anybody else, and not just because of visually, just like she commands the scene.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking forward to what they do with it from here.
Yes.
If recent times or anything, we'll get a completely new something in a few years,
Yeah.
which I'm okay
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
They're the Predator series has been looking for that magic spark that the first one had ever since the first one came out. Every
True.
Predator since then has been looking for that. Predators, with the Adrian Brody movie,
Mhm.
tried the hardest to just recreate that movie, and it didn't succeed at that, but it was still, it was still good. It just it tried the hardest to do that. I think this one took a correct turn trying to make its own mark, as opposed
Agreed.
to just trying to recreate the first movie.
Yeah, in one way, it almost feels like it works well as an anthology series every 6 or 7 years, as opposed to a franchise every other year.
Right.
Somebody else comes in, adds a layer. It may or may not directly or indirectly tie to what's been laid down before, but as long as it doesn't horribly contradict what we've seen before, it could be its own thing, and that's good enough.
With the thing I'm really looking forward to the most with the Predator series is its return to horror instead of action. Because for a long time it has been an action movie. But the first one was a legitimate horror movie. And to come back to that route would be pretty awesome. And I always say that to people with the first Predator being a legitimate horror movie because, we know what it is now and we look at it as a fun, more action-y type of movie now that we know. But the first time you watch that movie and you're just as lost as to what the fuck's going on as these men in the jungle that are being attacked by something that's walking around invisible, that's a horror movie. To me, at least. I would like to see a return to that form in some way if they could manage it. Perhaps hiding themselves under a different name, kind of the way that we got the Split did, hiding itself as part of the Unbreakable thing.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting turn.
Do we know? Are they making another Predator movie?
Oh, eventually, I'm sure they will.
In terms of anything official, I haven't gone looking for it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, because I feel like I've heard mixed things about this one, so I didn't think they immediately greenlit a sequel or anything like that. So I didn't know if I missed something. Not
quite sure yet.
Probably not a sequel, but the Predator will be back. I guarantee you that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Ramon and I didn't see that, so I don't think we have anything to add.
No.
You guys good on Predator?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll move on to my number 9. My number 9, I think, was a movie that I was hoping might have been a little bit higher, considering it was my number 3 on Anticipated. Incredibles 2. I think I still really like that franchise. I think it's still one of the better superhero franchises out there. But I did feel like Incredibles 2 took a lot of plot points that were very similar to the first one and just kind of flipped them a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was hoping, I think, for a little bit more original stuff. But a so-so Incredibles movie is still better than a lot of the other stuff out there, so it still made my list.
That's a pretty good summation of how I felt about it. Spoilers, it didn't crack my 10.
I fought to get it on there, really.
Yeah, I wanted it to, and then I'm looking at everything else, and that's the thing. If I had to be honest, I wouldn't say that. I actually probably did like it better than 1 or 2 or 3 here that did make it, but I think I couldn't let go of. It was not going to make my disappointments list whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
But there was, I think. How you articulate it, there was just a feeling of it like you were waiting for it to just be a little bit more or a little bit different than they ended up producing, especially when you compare it to the first one and some of the similarities between the two. And
even just watching the trailers, the trailers tell you it's going to be the same movie, but you're following Elastigirl instead of Mr. Incredible.
Yeah.
But I was still expecting some sort of twist, and just the trailers weren't telling me everything. That was pretty much what the trailers said.
I made a big mistake with Incredibles 2. I didn't watch this in the theater. I watched this at home. And I decided when I was like, okay, I'm going to watch Incredibles 2 today, let's make it a double feature. So I watched them one right after the other, and it just, I think doing it that way kind of amplified exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I could see that.
And, I felt like I was watching the same movie, and I by the time Incredibles 2 was a third of the way in, I was bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
From having just come out. They're not short either for animated movies. They're fairly long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that third of the way in, and I'm just like, okay. And I got through it. It's not bad. You know what I mean? It just needed something different. The first one was so damn good, it just sucks that they couldn't turn that magic into a different kind of magic.
Yeah. And some of the stuff that they talk about, like, social commentary wise about, like, people being glued to screens now, like the villain, I can see where they're going with that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for a type of villain. And I was on board with that, but just the main plot point with Elastigirl and what her situation was so much similar to what Mr. Incredible did in the first one that it's hard not to ignore, especially like Mike said, if you watch them back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that too. I never didn't even think about that until now. I'm like, oh fuck, it is.
I think there's a moment in How I Met Your Mother where they talk about the glass shattering on somebody, and you realizing.
Yeah, there it was.
Yeah.
We just did that to Romano and Incredibles 2.
Thanks a lot.
Well, Romano, I was going to give you a chance to, if there's anything you want to add to this, but I hope I didn't crash it down for you too bad.
No, because it was actually it's my number 8. So.
Okay.
So it's. Yeah, I mean it was like yeah. Now that you ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Have you only watched it once, or have you watched it more than once?
We watched it. I think 2 or 3 times now. I think.
Okay.
2 times. We watched it twice. We watched it when we first got it. When it first came out on Blu-ray, we bought it. And then we just watched it the other night.
So I'll be honest, I only watched it once. I actually do want to watch it again and see if it's any better the second time around.
I still like it. I mean, it's still fun. I mean, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
But now that you the similarities, like I wasn't even paying attention to that. It's like I don't pay attention to stuff like that. Like I just want to just sit there and just be entertained. And like now I'm like, fuck, it really is just almost like the first one. Jack made it though.
Yeah.
Jack made it.
Oh yes, by far.
Jack's freaking phenomenal.
Yes.
So yeah, that's all. That's my commentary. So there you go. There's my number 8.
All right, yeah. So we hit my 9, Romano's number 8. That brings us around to Bradley's number 8.
My number 8's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah. Okay. So we already covered that one too.
Yeah.
Okay.
That brings us down to Josh's number 8.
Well, we don't go too far from where we just were because we're going to hit the next revisit right now and meet up with Laurie Strode in Halloween.
Okay.
Um,
Again, another one that I cannot comment on.
There were aspects to this that I don't... I since I've seen it in October, and I saw it, this was one of my repeats. I did see it twice. I have been trying to figure out what it is that I feel about this, because it's not that I thought it was weak or wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be, but it's almost left with this, like, I'm both like very self-satisfied with it, but I want it to be the end. And I think that's my worry is, like, as far as I could tell, this performed very, very well. And I'm glad that they took another bite at the apple, even though they retconned the last 30 years, almost 40 years of movies, pretty much, to tell this story. But if this is what it's gonna be, please let this be. Like, I think that's what a lot of people thought after Halloween H2O. It ended with a very definitive conclusion. And this one does enough that if the writers basically if the studio wanted to make people write a sequel and kind of piggyback off this somewhere, they could. But I'm worried that they are going to do something stupid, like when they followed up H2O with Halloween Resurrection, which was absolute dog crap.
Yeah.
But self-contained in here, I was very happy with what it was. The style of filmmaking and the writing reminded me of the first two Halloween movies, when it was just something fresh. They weren't worried about just making another chapter in a franchise. They weren't worried about making enough to get greenlit a sequel. It just was what it was, and whatever you were left with, whatever discontentments or disagreements, like, it didn't matter. That's the story they told. This is the story you have. So are you going to enjoy it, or are you just going to be, sour grapes about it? The story they told, I liked, and I was okay with what they did.
Didn't Danny McBride write this movie?
He was a co-writer, yes.
Okay.
So since I know Brian didn't watch it and Mike didn't hear all that, I will go with a little bit of sour grapes for you.
I'm not a Halloween fan anyway. So.
My biggest issue with this whole movie is the entire movie itself was built up to Laurie finally wanting closure, to be 100% certain that Michael's dead. We're really going to kill him this time. We need to make sure he's dead.
Watch your spoilers.
And they don't wrap that up the way they could have. It's right there. It's super easy to do. And they don't give you that 100% definitive end to the point where you could potentially end up with that H2O to Resurrection type sequel ending manipulation.
Okay.
And that aspect of it, because of how much they build up, the fact that, they retcon so much of it, that I'm not even sure. Did Halloween 2 happen according to this movie, or is it just the first one that happened? I can't... Because those were supposed to be the same night, so it's...
I think according to this, Halloween 2 did not happen.
Okay.
The main thing that came out of Halloween 2 that I think they intentionally decided to erase was the revelation in Halloween 2 that Michael Myers was actually Laurie's brother. And that's the major part of Halloween 2 that they retconned out.
Okay. So,
because there's not really a whole lot of the events of Halloween 2 that really had an impact on the rest of things, but that was like the one major piece that I think they decided to back out of.
Yeah. And
I don't know why. I don't know if it necessarily matters.
It didn't, and that was part of the other thing, is they went that route, but that's spoilery, and I'll avoid that. But that was my biggest issue, is the whole movie was built up about Laurie turning herself into a killing machine, and this super safe, super by the book, by the rules, gonna always make sure 100% that he's dead the next time I get the chance. And it ends not entirely ambiguously, but ambiguously enough for the Halloween series. A similar ending to so many of the other movies where...
That's the part that worries me. Like, was that any kind of studio input, or even intentionally on the part of the writers, where if this is definitive, we know we're done. If we leave even the slightest shred of doubt, then that gives us wiggle room to do something else afterward.
Right,
and
which is what annoys me so much about it, is that that's probably the case. Is they left that squeakiest, littlest bit of wiggle room. Littlest bit.
Right, and if they didn't, if it was just confirmed, like, nope, that was the end, then it makes sense. Like, how it played out makes sense, and there's no problem. It's not like there's a plot hole or anything. If they played
it that way, it could be one of the better, if not maybe the best, in the series. If they played that definitive ending, it could have been a much better overall movie. So,
I thought I heard that they were making a sequel for this too. Am I making that up too?
That's what I'm worried about. Is I'm not sure if that was official or not. It could have been, and I missed it. But again, I think that was based on the reception of it, and definitely the box office on it. Yeah. I'm sure the studio would love to keep going, but I'm a huge fan of the Halloween series, even the crappy ones.
Yeah. Even
because
Paul Rudd.
those are learning mistakes.
Poor Paul Rudd.
Oh, I know. But but if this is a great place to end, and I hope they learn the lesson. Like I said, of 20 years ago in 1998, they made a 20th anniversary chapter, Halloween H2O. It ended perfectly, and it could have been done there. They decided not to do that, and they did. They kept going, and then they did reboots, remakes, and then okay, another 20 years they've come back. It is 40 years since the first one, and it has ended in a place that is okay to end it at.
Yes.
And I just hope they leave it there.
Yeah, franchises I don't think ever stay dead forever.
Even if they wanted to reboot it, that would be awesome. Go ahead and reboot the series instead of trying to continue it. I think that would be a good way to go.
They tried with Rob Zombie, and those were okay enough. But and since they've already tried it once, I think they'd just be so hesitant.
True.
To do it again.
That was a poor reboot, though. In my opinion, it wasn't. It was like as opposed to a reboot. That was more. Those were more like they were different.
Oh, they were. I mean, they were intentionally different, but then that's the thing. It's like they took a chance on going a different direction. Yeah, they did so. People thought certain things of them, but
right.
I just it's time. It's time to hang it up, and it ended in a good place.
All right, so I think we're good for Halloween, right?
And Jamie Lee Curtis is still on my list.
Where do I want to know? Where on your list?
Where on the list, or which list?
I think I know which list. I'm curious where on your list.
Oh, like where she ranks?
Yeah.
I don't know. You might be worried about seeing my list.
That's fair.
He's much like Wade Wilson. B. Arthur's on there somewhere.
All right, so we'll go on to my number 8. I feel like my number 8 might be... I don't feel like I have any surprises on my list, but I feel like number 8 could be one, and I feel like I might be the only one out of this group that actually saw this movie.
Uh-oh.
That's Bumblebee.
Oh, okay. I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, definitely the only one out of the two of us who saw it.
Yeah.
No.
I tried to get Romano to go because I know he's a Transformers fan. I couldn't get him to go.
Even Romano's tapped out by this point.
Eric and I went to see this. Eric's the other Transformers guy that I know. It's the first Transformers movie that's not directed by Michael Bay, which is a plus. It is kind of a reboot. Well, not reboot, but like it's set up as a prequel. So it takes place in the 80s before the first Transformers movie with Shia LaBeouf. Storylines follow kind of like the same one as the first Transformers movie. So instead of Shia LaBeouf in his car, it's Haley Steinfeld in her car. But I think they play that movie out a lot better than the way Transformers was. And it's a little bit more low-key. There's not like really, really big action sequences like the first Transformers movie because this is supposed to happen before all the big shit kind of goes down. But I think it was directed very well. I think the story was very well done. You can actually see what's happening for these fight sequences with Transformers, which is a plus compared to all the other Transformers movies where you can't tell what the fuck's going on. So, yeah.
To be fair, in those other Transformers movies, at least the 2.5 that I've seen, you can barely tell what's going on even when there's not a fight scene.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
What Michael Bay's sense of humor is all over those movies, and it's not for
the camera is in great focus when Megan Fox bends over. And
again, Michael Bayisms. There you go. Yeah, I think this is the difference when you have someone direct a property that they actually like. Like, you can tell that Travis Knight, the director, is a fan of Transformers and gives them love and attention, whereas Michael Bay is just like, I like explosions and big fight sequences, and I need a paycheck. This is going to make $1 billion.
Yep.
Cut me the check. So, yeah, I'd recommend anyone that, especially you, Mike, I'd give it a shot. No. Rent it or something.
I'll wait till it comes out on Netflix.
Maybe. So, Romana, have you seen all the other Transformers movies, or are you skipping any?
I did not see the last one.
So you've seen
Michael Bay made.
4 or 5 of the 6 or however many there are out there. Is there 5 now?
Yeah, there's 5
I think
base
this is the
movies.
5th one. I've seen 3.
Yeah, there's the one after the 3rd one. You get the Mark Wahlberg one, and then
Yeah.
you get the Last Night. I can't remember what the Mark Wahlberg one was called. That's the one where the dinosaurs
There's
come
2
in.
Mark Wahlbergs, Extinction and Last Night.
Yeah.
Okay, then I didn't see The Last Night. I saw Extinction because that's what the Dinobots.
Okay, if you've seen 4 of the 5 movies, you should see Bumblebee. Give yourself a decent Transformers movie compared to the others.
I am not actively avoiding Bumblebee. I just haven't got to it. There's a few on.
Oh, I am.
Agree. Same.
There's a few that I just haven't got to see, which we'll discuss later, like we always do.
So, spoiler alert for me, I saw this the same weekend that Aquaman came out. This made my list. Aquaman did not.
What?
What?
Yes.
I'm off. I'm done. I'm going to bed.
So it surprised me enough that it made the top 10. Aquaman, I'm sure it's gonna hit somebody's list, so we can talk about that. But that's where I'm at, and since I'm the only one that saw it, I don't know how much we can talk about it. But that's where I'm at for Bumblebee.
All right, fair enough.
So we'll bring it back around to Romano for his number 7.
My number 7, which was a surprise. I really think this came out in 2018. I hope it did.
Uh-oh.
We'll fact check you. We'll make sure.
Well, you're the one who told me to see this movie, so I don't know why it's so high on my list. I really don't. I don't even know why I put it on my list this high. I just thought it was a fun movie, and I enjoyed watching it. Was the movie Tag?
Oh yeah.
This was definitely 2018.
Yeah, you're in the clear.
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember because I mean I rented it, so like it's when I rent them, it's hard to I can't remember exactly when they come out, but I don't know. It just seemed fun because it was like that would be like something I would love to do.
Yeah.
Have this never-ending tag game. It would just be so much fun. So I mean, that's it. That's all I gotta say about it. There was really nothing else.
Tag is a fantastic movie. I love that movie. It did not make my own list, but I could just watch that movie over and over again. It's just a fun movie to watch.
This is, I think, the movie I've watched the most this year.
And fucking just Jeremy Renner's character, it's just I love it.
I've watched this movie more than Infinity War. That's how much I like this movie.
Wow.
So it is on my list. We will get to it later for me. But
same.
Yeah, there's something that it's. I think I did have it on my honorable mentions last year, just because the premise sounded so stupid that I was like, I just kind of want to see what they do, and it really surprised me, and it had a lot more heart to the movie than I expected.
Yeah,
and it's about a group of guys that don't want to. That the only way they connect to each other is playing this game for years, and it I don't know. I guess it kind of hit me to like. I compare it to people that I play Xbox with that I don't see, but I talk to on a regular basis because we have this shared common thing that we play games together every now and again. Shit, Romano, I talk to you more on Xbox than I see you ever.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a way for me and my friends to stay connected. So I compared it to that, and it really, I don't know, it hit home with me. I really like that movie.
Our parents hang out more than we do.
I know, that's sad. That is really sad.
I myself, I related most to Chili. And well, I mean, he's just kind of the guy that doesn't give a damn, He's just like, people are tryhards, and it just the movie itself, like the group of friends they put together, the people they chose to be in the movie and play the roles were perfect. And yeah, I mean, we can't get into spoilers, so I can't go too far about the one prank, but we all know the prank that I'm talking about that was...
It was harsh.
Oh my god, that is just the most savage thing I may have seen in a movie in a long time.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, that was pretty fucking awful.
If you haven't seen this movie, you need to get out and find out what I'm talking about here, so I can talk about it at a later date.
I really enjoyed Isla Fisher and Leslie Bibb's character, especially Isla Fisher. I don't know, the interaction with her and Ed Helms worked really well. Their chemistry was really good.
Yeah.
I also liked seeing John Hamm in this kind of element. I don't think he's had much of a chance to really play fun.
He's so good at it.
And he is like the most like just fun I think I've seen him in previously was Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, which was enjoyable, but it still had like somewhat of like a comedy thriller aspect to it. This was just like pure like adult, somewhat raunchy, but no, not even raunchy. It's just adult, just grown up.
Yeah,
grown up dialogue, grown up humor. Real adult people.
You need to find his Saturday Night Live hosting episodes then.
Okay.
Because he is among their absolute best hosts. When he shows up, it's a can't miss episode.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, that's a good element for him that he hasn't really got a chance of like playing that sandbox much. At least in his film roles. So the cast worked really great together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with her. I love this movie. Again, we might touch on it again later. So we're on to Bradley's number 7.
My number 7 is Bohemian Rhapsody. Again, this movie could have been a lot higher in another year. I personally, Queen has always been one of my top 3 bands ever. So getting to see this movie, they fudged a lot of the band's history. They Hollywoodized this movie a lot. But most specifically, the Live Aid scene for this movie is some of the most dedicated work I've seen a team put to a specific scene in a long time. If you watch these two, the actual footage from Live Aid played against Rami Malek and the rest of the actors on stage at their in the movie, it is step for step, motion for motion recreation of the show they put on at Live Aid.
It's pretty impressive the scale that they had to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like, again, Rami Malek, the performance he put on as Freddie Mercury was something that was unbelievable.
Just won the Golden Globe.
Yeah. He just won for Best Actor, so I mean that's telling you a lot. We'll see if he gets the Oscar.
It was pretty transformative. He does disappear.
Yeah.
The whole time you're just looking at Freddie Mercury the whole time, and there's a lot of physical differences between them. I mean, he looks similar enough that you buy it, but
Freddie was a much bigger guy.
Yeah,
Freddie was much taller.
From the get-go, from the moment he's on screen, you're not really... And I actually felt that way about the whole band, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
The core members of the band, I felt that way about the entire time.
The guy that played Brian May was unbelievable.
Yeah, I really dug him.
Yeah, that and just the likeness was incredible there, too. It was...
To like a spooky degree. Like you're wondering, like, did they cast his son... or like his grandson, I don't know how old his kids would be, like, to a really spooky degree.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't remember what the rest of the band looks like outside of Freddie Mercury, and being in the theater, I remember hearing somebody in the theater, like, flipping out about how similar the actors look to the actual members of Queen.
Yeah.
And I didn't think too much of it until I actually researched what those members of Queen look like, and then the actors that portrayed them, and I was like, holy fucking shit, they actually did a really fucking good job.
Especially at those ages, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was incredibly impressive. We get the obligatory cameo from Mike Myers in one of my favorite scenes, comedy-wise, of the entire year. For people that have seen the movie and know the scene I'm talking about, that scene was entirely made up for this movie. That is not anything like whatever really happened. With Bohemian Rhapsody, that was something they wanted to make that joke, so they played that entire scene to make that joke. I'm not going to spoil the joke for anybody.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that was him in that scene. Like, they hid him beside such makeup and those glasses, I couldn't tell that was Mike Myers.
Really?
There was like a real quick instance, I think, where he started to sound like Fat Bastard, and then I clicked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
just
he's so heavily
looking at him,
covered in
I
that facial hair and those glasses.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out just by looking at him.
I'm so used to looking at him in disguises because of Austin Powers that I'm able to spot him through a lot of that now, I think. Where if it was somebody else, they might pass it by me, but I can spot Mike Myers in a costume. But all the same, it was a great joke. It was a great way to tell it.
It's a lot of shoe leather to get to the punchline.
Yeah, and that's what made it so great. Was like you're wondering, like I get that it's Mike Myers there, and we got Wayne's World. Are they going to do something with that? Because I think that's why they drew it out so long. Was to help it, and I feel like they did a good job telling a lot of Freddy's story. Even though, like I said, they did fudge some parts of it to make it more palatable for Hollywood. But all the same, I'll watch this movie over and over again throughout my life, I am sure. It was fun. It hit the right notes it needed to. And I think overall it was an excellent film.
Yeah, this was close to making my top 10. It did not get in there. So it's definitely going to hit my honorable mentions. But yeah, I really enjoyed it too.
I did not see it.
Well, you can rent it later.
I'll probably have to rent it.
Yeah, if you're curious. Josh, you got anything to add for this one?
Didn't make the 10 cut, but definitely appreciated it quite a bit.
Okay. Then that moves us on to Josh's number 7.
This is... I was very shocked to find that I enjoyed this as much as I did, and it was, in my opinion, turned out to be very, very solid, and hopefully indication that they have got their shit together and are headed in the right direction for the foreseeable future. My number 7 is Aquaman.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
I definitely wouldn't have said, even literally like as we're going into the theater, like, well, this could be a train wreck or it could be halfway decent. I happen to think it ended up being more than halfway decent. I think it's on par with some of like the mid-card, I don't want to say just run-of-the-mill, but I'll call them like mid-card average MCU movies. I'd say this was as strong as Doctor Strange. I definitely, it couldn't hold a candle to, Winter Soldier or Infinity War, but
yeah.
In terms of like a good, solid, well-made movie that didn't really trip on itself all that much and make itself look ridiculous. And to be fair, Jason Momoa looks like he has a hell of a fun time being this character, which I think helps a lot.
I think so.
A lot of the write-ups that I've seen about this have focused on that into saying that envisioning the character physically this way, acting this way, was a little akin to casting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Like, very just out of left field. Like, if you would have said, even 8 years ago, we're going to make Aquaman movies for DC Comics, an actor who looks that way, with that skin tone, with that kind of hair, behaving that way as Arthur Curry, as Aquaman, nobody would envision that version of a character. It would have been very, very different. But I think it was a good choice. It was a nice gamble that they took when they pursued him a couple of years ago. And I'm also glad that they didn't hang their hat on really giving a crap about what happened in Justice League. Yeah. There's, I think, the briefest mention of Steppenwolf in the events, but other than that, they don't. It's not important. They just. I think it was important, and it was good that they acknowledge it, so that it doesn't seem like, oh, we're completely ignoring that.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. It didn't care at all.
You know what I picked up from that is just that we just get one name drop and that's it, is that we will never get Justice League 2.
Oh, no. No, or if we do, it'll be a different grouping of either certain actors playing certain roles, or it'll be a different, it'll be a different grouping of the composition of the Justice League, and that'll, like 6 years from now, maybe they'll take another crack at it.
It just solidified for me that they have abandoned all hope of connecting any of these movies. They're just going to start doing one-off pictures,
and I'm okay with that. To what Josh was saying, a few things. There is a run of Aquaman that is very similar to what you're seeing on film here, where he is very much the same portrayal as what you're getting out of Jason Momoa. There is a run of that is also one of the best-selling Aquaman runs, which is probably why they went that route, for one. Another thing to note about this is the limited, if at all, involvement of Zack Snyder. This was a James Wan movie from the start, which, strangely enough for him, this is quite a turn from his usual fare. And this appears much higher on my list. I think this is much beyond the standard fare of Marvel, personally. And I think that might be because of, it might be like the rose-tinted glasses because of how bad I'm used to getting from DC. But this is the first time that I've watched any of these DC movies and gave a damn about any of the characters in them. And that's really saying something. If they can... It was the first time I've had fun. It doesn't have that darker tone that has dragged down these DC movies for so long. You get... like, if you just read the cast and you see that Dolph Lundgren is going to be in this movie, and you kind of groan like, oh god, well, why would they do that? And then you realize he was actually pretty good. And
he had a much bigger role than I thought he was going to.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I could gush about this movie for a long time because of how much more fun it was than I thought it would be. I recently watched Kevin Smith give his own review on it. He had a YouTube video he put out. And one of the points he makes, I think, is one of the most incredible things about this movie. Is so much of this movie took place underwater, and the CG team for this movie is unbelievable just for what they did with people's hair. That alone is enough to be impressed by. But the rest of it looks good. You have shrimp people that look good. You have... I mean, to me, the shining moment in this film was they didn't back down from the Aquaman costume. You get the end.
In the end, no, yeah.
Yeah, in the end of this movie, they say, here it is. And that's what a lot of these movies do. They build up to that costume reveal.
Sure.
And, they build that up, and they don't really build it up here at all. But they give you that full-on Aquaman costume that is like, holy crap, it's actually an Aquaman costume, and it looks fucking good. How did they pull that off?
Appropriate for what they created.
Yes.
Yeah.
It fit the world. Ocean Master looked amazing. They didn't back off on Black Manta. I mean, he looked as ridiculous as he always does. Yeah, I don't know. I could keep going, but it's just it was a hell of a fun movie to watch. It was some of the most fun I had at the theater this year.
Romano, you saw this, right?
Yes.
Anything to add for Aquaman? Because I feel like I might be the downer on this one, but I'm going to let you guys go first.
Nah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was like everybody else said, it's the first DC movie that I actually... Other than... I enjoyed Wonder Woman, but this was like the first DC movie that I was like... I was like, oh, they finally copied what Marvel did. They finally got it right. But I just like Jason Momoa too because I think he's just like kind of like his like just smartassness. I don't know if that's not even really a word, but like
Yeah.
his attitude is just awesome. I don't know. I thought it was cool.
So since this came out around the holidays, we never actually did like a proper review for this thing. I mentioned it did not make my top 10. It would make my honorable mentions. It didn't crack the top 10, but it's there. I think it's good enough that people should see it and stuff like that. And I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying. I think technologically, like what they did for all the underwater stuff did not look cheesy. It's just an impressive feat on its own. Aquaman did not come across as cheesy, which was good. It is probably one of the more fun, if not the most fun, DC movies. I thought James Wan directed action superbly. There's a lot of like one-shot action sequences that they stitched together somehow that I think, like the way the camera rotates around things and pans with some of the action, that stuff stood out to me. But I feel like a day after I saw this movie, I forgot a lot of what I saw. And for a movie that I really wanted to be good and stick with me, the fact that it didn't, and maybe I just need to see it again. I've only seen it once, but after one viewing, I didn't think it stuck with me as much as, say, like Wonder Woman did. Like, I think Wonder Woman had a lot more memorable sequences for me, and I still think that's the better DC movie for me. So this one fell a little bit lower on my list. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
All right.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but that's that's where I'm at. All right, so I guess we'll move on to my number 7. My number 7 is Solo, a Star Wars story.
I was wondering if that would make your guys' list any of the three of you. I didn't know if you guys would end up liking it that much in relation to everything else.
Yeah, I think my top 6 are pretty locked in. So if I was going to put it in, it had to go here. And I feel like people that have seen this movie I haven't heard a bad thing about it from people that have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the people that don't want to give it a shot are like, oh, it's shit.
Yeah.
There's no point for this movie to be made. But I think they actually did a really good job, especially considering all the behind-the-scenes shit that happened with it. This should have been a train wreck. It was not.
Yeah. I remember talking about this for so long where we were worried how bad this was going to be because of all the problems.
And going into it with that mindset and then coming out wanting to see a sequel, that was guaranteed to make my top 10. I think Alden Ehrenreich did a fantastic job as Han Solo. He did not copy Harrison Ford. He made it his own, which worked. I think there are some things, and now I'm trying to remember. I think we reviewed this movie, but there are certain things that story decisions or plot points that I don't agree with. I think really kind of piss me off in the larger scheme of things. Specifically, like how they give him his name is such a throwaway thing that it fucking bugs the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. But there's enough good in here, and there's a specific cameo in the third act of the movie that will confuse a lot of people if you don't know the expanded universe stuff. But for all of us that follow that stuff, we lost our shit for. And so, yeah, if you're curious about it, I definitely say give it a shot. You might be pleasantly surprised. I know I was.
Yeah, this is another one, 2 in a row you guys are talking about that appears much higher on my list. We talked previously, before the show, about the top of my list being on a dice roll. And this was one that was on the dice to be in the number 1 slot.
Jeez.
I thoroughly love this movie. This is a Star Wars movie that is just fun from start to finish. They give you everything you would want out of a Han Solo origin story movie. Han meets Chewie in this movie. You get some other spoilery stuff that happens, and some other spoilery stuff that happens.
Other than
Han
things we
meeting
talked
Chewie
about, other
in the
things
movie
occur.
That's in the trailers. You see Chewie in the trailers, so I'm not gonna, that's not a spoiler. The other stuff, but we get, so much of everything you've wanted to know about Han Solo. You get stories that are satisfying answers to those questions.
And we can't talk about this without gushing about Donald Glover as Lando, because he fucking killed it.
Oh my god, did he ever? I mean,
Mike is speechless, ladies and gentlemen.
I
Speechless.
can't say how much. Like, there's so many things I want to say, and I'm like, can I say this without spoiling something? Because I actually,
based on the box
review.
office return, we can assume that not many people have seen this movie, so we do not want to spoil this movie for people.
Well, based on Disney's wonderful decision to slate this right after their own Infinity War and right before Deadpool 2, let's sandwich it between the two highest earning movies of the spring.
I feel like I can't remember if I talked to you guys about this or if I just made this offhand comment to other people, but it's funny how much shit released in December because there was no Star Wars movie there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Aquaman would be making the money it was making if it released on the same week as Star Wars? Hell no. They would have pushed it back into October, or they would have pushed it forward into February. If Solo was releasing there, Solo's making $1 billion in December right now if it released now.
Because we talked about, I think, on the Anticipated, why Wonder Woman 2 moved out, because Episode 9 fell into December, and they were like, we ain't doing that, let's go to June.
We can't win that. Like, you're not going to beat it, so don't bother trying, move somewhere else. Why they didn't follow their own strategy of pushing movies out of the way and push Solo somewhere else, I don't know. But it ended up costing the series money and may end up costing us sequels to things that we wanted to see, which is ridiculous when they don't consider where it released when they're considering all this criticism. But the movie itself, if you haven't seen it, go see Solo. It is so fucking good.
I believe it literally just got added to Netflix streaming today.
There you go.
Nice.
Being January 9th. I think it was today.
Yeah, it is. It's a Star Wars movie that you don't even have to like Star Wars to enjoy. Josh.
Yeah, I was just saying, speaking of that.
I know, but I'm saying you don't even have to like Star Wars to enjoy it. It is just fun from start to finish. And
did you like it, Josh, when you saw it?
Enough. I mean, not really caring as much about what additional, expanded universe stuff that this is going to finally show me or where it could connect to other things that I knew before that they're giving me, connective tissue on and, to have that like fan service there and that fun. Probably not nearly as much as you guys could, but as far as watchability, yeah.
I feel like I'll lose my shit when a Star Wars movie makes Josh's top 10.
I think we did. So let's see, we started the show in 2015. I think I'd have to go back. Force Awakens might have made my top 10. It might have been low.
It did.
But I think it did. I don't think the others did. I don't think Last Jedi did.
I thought Rogue One.
I think Rogue One might have too.
Yeah, I thought you had Rogue One on.
I don't think Last Jedi did, but I think that I think Episode 7 and Rogue One both at least made the 10 favorites somewhere.
I have to... Oh, okay, yeah. For favorites of 2016, Rogue One made your list at number 7.
There you go.
If I have a list of top 10 for 2015, I don't know where that is.
Well, listeners, so you can go mine past episodes of Bry Guy and his Super Friends on many different types of platforms and find our favorites of 2015 review.
Romano, where do you stand with Solo?
Didn't make the list. I saw it though. I liked it. It was good. I don't know. It wasn't enough to make the list for me.
Okay.
Maybe I need to watch it again.
So you've only seen it once?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a big Star Wars guy. I'd say give it
another
shot.
I like Star Wars. I'm like the whole like Josh said, like the whole expanded universe stuff. It doesn't do as much for me as it might for other people.
I thought you watched all those cartoons.
Well, I watch the cartoons just because I like cartoons.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's the only medium
when I
you
think
need.
Of Star Wars, when I think of Star Wars, I think of Jedi, and that's like what I want to see.
Yeah, so you're not good with run-of-the-mill. Well, what'd you think of Rogue One? There's no Jedi in Rogue One.
It was okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I mean, I liked it. I did not like it. I liked it. It was a good movie. I mean, it's just like Solo. It was, if anything, Solo was a surprise to me because, like you guys said earlier, it was like because of the disaster that it was looking like it was going to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that happened was cool because it like paid like homage back to the original trilogy and stuff like that of Han Solo, so it made it fun. But I mean, yeah, I mean it just If I had to put it on my list, it would have probably been like, I have 2 honorable mentions. It would have probably been the third.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else to add for this one, or we'll go to Mike's number 6, because I feel like we're not even halfway through everybody's list, so we've been at this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start to hit repeats. I'm sure.
Mike's gonna fall asleep before we get to the end.
I'm getting close, guys.
All right, Mike, you're number 6.
Aquaman.
Yeah, okay. So we already talked about that one.
Yes.
Bradley's number 6.
So we're into the dice rolls here as potential number ones. As I said before, this is a long list of possible number ones, but this one is the only movie on this list I saw twice, but they were not the same each time I saw them. I considered putting it on my list twice, and that is Deadpool 2. Also, as Once Upon a Deadpool.
Gotcha.
Both iterations were amazing to watch. They were hilarious. The action was fun. I mean, it's Deadpool 2. It had so much going on in it, and I don't even know where to go with talking about it other than to say, like, they didn't screw up Cable, and that was my biggest fear with them touching Cable, because he's such a complex and difficult character to portray, and they didn't screw it up. So, I'm shocked, personally, that it's at number 6, but that's where it wound up. This movie, again, it's the spoiler thing that keeps me from saying all the things that I think. But you get unexpected cameos, let's say, that are absolutely hilarious. We won't get into what they are, or when they happen, or anything like that, but they are absolutely hilarious. We get an appearance from somebody that X-Men fans have been waiting to see done properly for a really long time, and Deadpool himself exclaims appropriately when we finally get to see that character. That alone made the movie for me. You guys know what I mean. I'm sure
Yes.
You've all seen Deadpool. Just to avoid spoilers, we won't say who, but holy shit, that was amazing. Me personally, I have a statue of said character in the room with me right now that's worth a few $100s because I love the character that much. And to see it on screen done properly instead of the previous iteration of the character that was done on screen, it was the worst thing that maybe has ever been done to a Marvel character. The action sequences work. The portrayal of Domino was fantastic, which I was really, really, really skeptical about how they did her makeup to begin with, and it turned out you didn't really care. But I still like to see Domino look like Domino does in the comics, where she looks like a domino. I think that would be cool. Just because the character always had this really cool artistic look, but the look did not really harm what they did with Domino in this movie. And Peter. Holy shit, Peter. Just amazing.
Romano, Deadpool 2, anything to add?
No. It made my honorable mention list. Didn't even make my top 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I think...
I couldn't get into it. I didn't get into it as much as I did the first one. I don't know why.
I'm with Mike. I can't really explain what it is about the second one that did not hit me as much as the first one. Because, the jokes are there. The action's there. I didn't connect with it as much as I did the first one for some reason.
No, I didn't either. And, I never even saw it in the theaters. I waited till it came out on Blu-ray.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm with Romano. It made my honorable mentions, but it didn't make my top 10.
Wow.
Josh, anything to add?
No, same thing. I'm sad that it made only my honorable mentions. Again, I can't quite put my finger on it. There was just something about the relatability to it, about really connecting to it. I think when we initially reviewed it, I mimicked something I had heard from other sources that said, I don't think people realized how much they actually concentrate as the viewer that you concentrated on the Wade Vanessa relationship in that first movie. As the underlying motivation through all of it. There was, of course, revenge and everything else, but the fact that that's presented differently and
good way to skirt that. Good way to skirt that.
Exists differently in this one left the viewer, looking for something as strong to latch onto, and what they did use, I just don't think it happened to do the trick. I mean, I'm absolutely looking forward to the third and the fourth and the fifth, and don't get me wrong, I want these all the time. They're great, but as far as the difference between the experience with the first two, I think that kind of sums it up for me.
All right, so let's go on to Josh's number 6.
My number 6, we already talked about, is Tag.
Okay, so we already talked about Tag. We'll go on to my number 6. My number 6, I'm surprised it got as low as it did because I really wanted this to be higher. But again, everything's pretty much locked up at the top. But 6 for me is Ready Player One. I do still think the book is better. It crams a lot more in there. But the movie, for what they got away with and what they could use, I think was still fucking great. I mean, it hits on a lot of things for me personally, just like 80s and then pop culture, video games, all that stuff.
So much nostalgia there, yeah.
Yeah, you can't get just putting all those references in a movie. I don't care what the movie is about. I will love it.
Mm-hmm.
You watch it now, you still pick up new things every time you watch it.
I watch it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've watched it 5 or 6 times. Every time I watch it, I find something new.
Yeah. So, yeah, I fucking love it. I know they're trying to... I think Ernest Cline is trying to make a sequel book. So I'm pretty sure they're probably going to try to make that into a movie. So I'm curious to see how all that plays out and what that story will be. But I will be there for it. So I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on Ready Player One.
No, that's it. It's on my list. So
it is further ahead for me.
Yeah, me too.
But I could tell you so much about it that I could go forever, but I'll quite simply say that this movie spoke to me in a way that I think I was not expecting. And I, having read the book more than once even, I wasn't expecting the movie to be able to hit some of the notes that the book did and some of the notes that the book didn't. There's more references in the book. There's more, even more things that speak to me more about references in the book. Some of my favorite stuff is in the book. The whole Rush sequence. Rush is my favorite band, and they have a whole huge sequence with Rush in the book, and that's amazing. But I actually really appreciated changing all of the references, all of those major things. I really appreciated the change from the book to the movie. And they kept the right things the same and the right things different. And it would have been nice if they could have got the licensing for more stuff. I think the biggest absence was Star Wars. From all the references, like the major references that were in the book, Star Wars is obviously a big glaring absence.
Yeah.
But all the same, just so much fun, start to finish. And can we just give Ben Mendelsohn some love as a villain these days? The guy plays such a good villain every time he's a villain, which is like everything he's ever in now.
I feel like Rogue One put him on a path of that, because it was like Rogue One, then this, then I think he's playing a villainous character in Captain Marvel.
In Robin Hood, too.
And then Robin Hood. Yeah.
So like, his portrayal of Director Krennic was just so dastardly, it just sprung him into this role forever now. And I love it.
Josh, you got anything to add for Ready Player One?
There, similar to Deadpool, there was something about this that I didn't feel as connected to in the end. I liked the visuals of it a whole lot. We did end up, getting it on Blu-ray when it came out. I think this was like number 3, maybe, on my anticipation list. Like, it was high up there. It was number 4.
Number 4. Number 4.
It made my honorable mentions. It didn't crack the 10.
Okay.
But so enjoyed the heck of it. I just think for some reason the sort of emotional connection to it that I had when I read the book was absent once I saw it in visual form.
Okay.
And maybe that was why. But I thought that, I think we said this too when we reviewed this, that the stuff about the movie that they did change, either for licensing reasons or whatnot, I think was actually done in a very, very creative way. Because it wasn't just like, a small story tweak. There were large swaths of important story pieces that literally needed, like, completely different pop culture choices needed to be changed.
Right.
And the subject matter that they chose, the way that they formed it and whatnot, I thought was just from a creative standpoint was just really, really cool.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to Romano's number 5.
Fallout.
Yeah, okay, Mission Impossible?
Yes.
Got it.
I think it maybe hit so high is because I just saw it like the other day. So, but I mean, it was still a great movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering if that was maybe like one of those ones because it was so fresh still. But I thought it was a great movie. So
I can't argue that.
You can't really argue with a Mission Impossible movie, really.
Especially now. This is one of those franchises that is getting better the more movies they put out.
Exactly. The more they do, the better it gets. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm actually curious to see if Christopher McQuarrie comes back for 7. Because this is the first time because the director's always changed for these movies.
Yeah.
So he's the first one that's done back to back. So I'm curious if they're gonna bring him back with the success of Rogue Nation and Fallout, if they're actually gonna get him back for 7 or not. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. All right, Bradley, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Solo.
Okay. Good deal. Josh, number 5.
This is, I think, going to be the one big shocker on my list as to where this fell. My number 5 is Fantastic Beasts. Crimes
Ooh,
of
that
Grindelwald.
is low for you.
And given what comes ahead of it, especially 1 or 2 specifically, I think will shock you like even more, like as to the specific things that beat it out. I still remain a diehard fan. As an individual film to be assessed, though, I think I just had a more positive experience with the things that come ahead of this. And that's as easily as I could say it.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts didn't make my list. And you know me as the other end of the Harry Potter fandom here that is really into it. And I felt like as a movie, this felt like a really extended second act of something.
Yeah.
That needed it just felt like the ending wasn't, it was out of place. It felt abrupt. It felt, I don't know, it just didn't feel like an ending. It felt like there needed to be more there. But the movie was already fairly long as it was, so they had to end, and they wanted all this story to tell, and I feel like it fell into the trapping of something that's trying to tell a much larger overall story, and this phase being an extremely important part of the plot, but as a self-contained piece of work towards that end, it falls flat because it doesn't have its own proper story arc.
Yeah. I don't want to, we talked, I think, for like 2.5 hours for the review for this one. And I feel like I might have been a little bit more harsh than you guys on that review. This one, actually, I'm just going to say it made my disappointments list. It was on my honorable mentions. I think I expected more from it. A lot of the points Bradley just made, I expected this to, I don't know, stand alone maybe a little bit better or wrap up what it was going to do, but it just felt like you said, an ongoing, just continuing a stepping stone for what is coming next. And there's not a resolution to like anything that happens. And it just, I don't know, pacing wise, it felt boring to me. I don't know. I expected more from it, I think, especially being like a Harry Potter franchise film.
It's fair.
Romano, anything to add for this one? Did you see this one?
No, I did not.
Okay. So we'll move on to my number 5. I guess I'm going to be the first one to mention it. Black Panther.
Okay.
I'm expecting this, I guess, since it has been mentioned, to be higher on other people's lists.
No.
Did you say no?
I said no.
Oh, okay.
There's way better movies than that.
Okay. I think they another Marvel movie that I think we kind of expected it to be good for being what that character was in Civil War and then getting his own movie. I think they nailed an aspect of the MCU that hadn't been explored before. I think the villain in that movie, by Michael B. Jordan, I thought was really, really good. And Andy Serkis is having a fucking ball in that movie, and I just love watching him on screen have fun with Claw. Yeah, I think I expected it to be good. I didn't expect it to be that good. So that's where I'm at with Black Panther.
It made my honorable mention.
Same.
Ooh, okay. I'm actually kind of curious to see what's up on your list then.
Well, I think only because they just like kept talking about it and talking about it. It was good. It was good, but it was like, okay, we get it. Yes, it was great. It was groundbreaking. I understand that, but just settle down. And I'm not trying to be racist or anything. I'm like, okay, I get it. It was great. It was a tremendous feat, but it wasn't like that earth-shattering that it should be considered for an Academy Award.
Considering this is probably the only comic book movie that's going to get an Academy Award nomination, I will take what I can get.
But it's only because of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Infinity War is still better. Infinity War to me is still more deserving of an Academy Award than that.
Oh, I agree. But
I think the difference in that respect is that Infinity War is not making any statement about society as a whole.
No.
It's not trying to make any point other than being a comic book movie.
But see, then
Black Panther takes on societal issues. It takes on domestic issues. It takes on a lot of things that other comic book movies generally don't address.
See, normally, like when I go see a movie, I just want to be entertained. So, like stuff like that does nothing for me. I mean, it doesn't. That's just my opinion.
That's what they consider for awards. When they're talking awards, most of those movies I don't see in the theater. I don't watch over and over. But
I mean, if I watched Black Panther 3, 4, 5 times, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of had the same reaction in that I know that they're, by definition, I cannot have the same visceral experience as other certain people can have seeing that and experiencing that.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? So and it's okay. It's just like on the one hand, there's like an inherent bias that's going to occur. But I agree with Mike on the way that like, that's why it made my honorable mentions in that if I given that fact and given where I can approach it from analyzing it just as a standalone film, as a singular movie, I did, yes, personally think that there were several, better movies made while acknowledging all of the legitimate, important advances and, things that it did do and it stands for, etc. Just analyzing it as a movie, like as a movie critic, if you, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of how I came down on it.
Okay.
I agree with the other points you guys brought up, like all the strong points of it aren't any weaker because of that.
Yeah.
They're all fantastic. I think the ending, Killmonger's final 30 seconds was some of the, best 30 seconds in, in top 5 30 seconds in any of the MCU.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
the delivery, the words, the poignancy, it is perfect. But yeah, it's same. It pretty much hit like number 10.5, 11 for me.
Okay. Yeah, it was my first. It was my first honorable mention.
Gotcha.
So,
Bradley, do you have something to add?
I mean, I could add a lot, but it to me it felt different than the other MCU movies in a good way. It separated itself from the standard fare that we've come to expect, and that's a good thing, especially given that we're on, I guess, 20 movies coming up here very shortly.
Yeah.
Being able to separate yourself while still tying yourself in is important. And I don't know, I it's higher on my list, and it's, I think, the hype was a little bit over the top, as to be expected when it performed as well as it did.
I get it. This movie made more domestically than Infinity War.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
And
it is I could be wrong. It might be the single highest grossing MCU movie domestically. It's definitely the highest grossing singles, like non-team up movie.
Right. Yeah.
But it might. I think just to say that it made more than Infinity War domestically says a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has a lot to say, which is just something that you're not used to from an MCU movie. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, definitely paved the way. I'm curious to see what comes next, especially for the sequel. I want to see what the sequel's like too.
Are we sure there's going to be a sequel?
Oh, that's true. That's true. We don't know what's going to happen in Endgame, so we have to see what happens.
No, they already got it slated.
Even though Ryan Coogler's confirmed as director and they're writing a script and everything like that, we don't know.
You don't know. They haven't announced it.
The highest grossing movie domestically.
I haven't seen
over Infinity War.
Kevin Feige PowerPoint presentation with a timeline map and things. Nothing is official.
Hey, if you were questioning Guardians 3, it would be legitimate right now.
Yeah.
Don't make me cry.
All right, so we'll go to Romano's number 4.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, okay. Glad to see that's getting some love.
2 words: Giant Gundam. That's it.
Don't forget jumping out of Serenity. And, just such a great moment.
It's just such a fanboy movie, really.
Yeah, it is. Bradley, number 4.
Aquaman.
Okay. Josh, number 4.
I'm not sure if anyone would have really guessed this, but maybe after listening to the 2019 anticipated episode, maybe it's not all that shocking, but Won't You Be My Neighbor has made my number 4.
Okay.
The Mr. Rogers documentary.
That's fair.
It legitimately had like a big impact on me. It was nice to see a documentary do well in mainstream theaters again. It was nice to be reminded that at one point in time, for a long time, there was at least one person who legitimately wasn't a shitty person. Yeah. And carried that banner for like 35, 40 years. It was really nice to be reminded of that in such, a selfless, altruistic, legitimate, genuine way. So maybe it was an effect of, the times we live in. I still think it was enjoyable and entertaining and engaging regardless. But I definitely connected with it big time. And, well, it's funny because I think 2 days after we recorded the 2019 anticipated episode, they announced the title of the upcoming Tom Hanks biopic, and in the episode we recorded, I said, this movie doesn't even have a title yet. So by the time the episode was released, the title was out, but when we recorded, it wasn't.
There was like 4 or 5 things I think we talked about on that episode that it took me, a week and a half, 2 weeks to get it out. So by that time, we were already outdated for a lot of the stuff we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess that just kind of happens. Yeah, for this movie, I be honest, and it's sad for me to admit because I live in Pittsburgh and know of Mr. Rogers and all that stuff, but I kind of forgot about this movie, even though Josh has been talking about it. It's one I definitely want to see. I never got around to it.
I got it as a Christmas present. You are welcome to borrow it.
Yeah, I might have to do that because I definitely do want to check it out. So
that goes for everybody
I can't
else
add
too.
to this discussion. I feel like it just based on your recommendation, I really, really want to check it out, but I cannot add to it.
And that just so that everyone has it, the title of the Tom Hanks biopic is going to be called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Oh, that's good too.
That's a good one. But the title of this documentary at my number 4 slot is called Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Awesome.
Pour one out for Fred.
Yeah. Romano, Bradley, anything to add for this one?
Didn't see it.
I will watch it when it becomes available to me.
Okay.
I tend to not pay for documentaries. I tend to just kind of wait for them to be free.
Oh, that's fine. I do a lot of stuff like through borrowing or through the library or something. So, yep. As soon as Brian's done with it, you can have it.
Library? What's that?
All right, so we'll move on to my number 4. My number 4 is Mission Impossible Fallout, which we already talked about. So we'll jump over to Romano's number 3.
Creed 2.
Oh, okay.
As much as I thought I was not gonna, I did not think I was gonna like it. It's a fucking Rocky movie. It's a boxing movie. Everybody loves that. Well, at least I do. I was surprisingly shocked at the amount of story that actually went into it. Like, if you watch it, okay, they're just remaking Rocky 4 because he's gonna fight Ivan Drago's son. Blah 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 blah. Whoop-de-frickin' do. I gotta say, they actually put some story to it, and it was actually, like, they built on Ivan Drago's story, they built on his son's story, and why, and what they were doing. I was pleasantly surprised, and honestly, I left the movie wanting to fight somebody. I mean, I wanted to, not fight somebody, but I wanted to hit something. Like, it was good. Like, I mean,
You were pumped.
I was seriously, like, all jacked up after I got out of there. I couldn't go to bed. Like, I wanted to fucking go work out. That's how good it
was. You should talk to Ian. I will say that for one.
Yes.
You definitely need to have a discussion with Ian. This is on my have not seen but need to see list.
I highly recommend it.
Same,
Better
I
than
did
the
not
first
get to
one.
this one.
Better than if you liked the first Creed, this is better actually.
All right.
It had a better story to it. It actually had like a good story to it. And Sly was awesome again.
Always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see this one either, but I did, just from what you just said, I did really enjoy the first Creed, so now I'm going to have to make it a point to find this one too and watch it.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan, awesome.
Yeah, he's hard to disappoint. He does really good. Even, like, as bad as Fan Four Stick is, he's the highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to Bradley's number 3.
My number 3 is Black Panther. I will note that this is the part of the list where how many times I saw it in the theater is starting to come into play, and this gets a whopping 2 times I saw this in the theater, which puts it in the number 3 slot, which is how I determine my few top movies here.
Fair enough.
See, this was one of my repeat viewings. This was the first. So, like, in the year and a half that Sarah and I worked at that movie theater, this was the first. And I mean, by the time we left, like a month later, it was the first and only movie that we were allowed to set up, and someone actually cared to let us set up an employee screening after, like, the night that it opened. So, like, the way that the digital files work anymore, like, companies aren't sending, like, film canisters anymore. Everything's, like, digitally sent by satellites and shit. So it comes with, like, access codes that won't turn on until a certain time because they don't want people viewing material. They don't want piracy and all that. So, like the early screenings were Thursday evening. It opened that weekend. So I think it was Friday night of that first weekend. It was like 2 a.m., 1 a.m., something like that. Those of us that were closing, and anyone else that wanted to come in from the staff, we got together, stayed up, another couple hours and actually like all watched it together for the first time that same night. Then we went back couple weeks later and saw it again. But yeah, that
Gotcha.
holds the honor.
Cool. Josh is number 3.
I am very glad that Bradley had brought this up during the anticipated 2018 list. I think I would have maybe found interest in it anyway, but his initial recommendation is definitely what got me out to see it in the theater. My number 3 is A Quiet Place.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit, or?
I mean, I think a lot of us had. So I don't know if you guys got to it. I'm sure Bradley did, but I was happy with the originality of it. I was impressed with the acting. I was impressed with the left, like the sharp left turns that the story takes when it wants to throw you off. Similar to some other movies in the past years, it was an interesting way to deal with different communication dilemmas or apparatus or concerns and considerations, and how do you show people still being able to function? How would their lives change based on certain things and all that? So I couldn't talk it up enough. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I agree. Original idea for this kind of horror movie, very well done. John Krasinski's great in just about everything the guy does. Same goes for Emily Blunt. It didn't make my top 10, but it would be right there with honorable mentions. It didn't make it, I think, because I thought about it, and I just don't think I ever need to watch it again. I feel like it's one of those movies that the entertainment value's there the first time, but once you know how everything pans out, it doesn't necessarily warrant additional viewings.
It's fair. Yeah, I didn't see it, so I can't
Neither did I.
comment one way or the other. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it myself. Just because we're running short on time, because I think we've been going along. I'm going to try to keep us moving here. My number 3 we already talked about, which might have been a surprise how high it is, but I got Tag as my number 3.
As much as I've heard you talk about it, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, after the first viewing, I knew that was going to make my top 5 somewhere. I didn't know where, but it's hung out to make my top 3. So we're on to Romano's number 2.
Spider-Man. I mean, one and 2 were like such a toss-up just because of how awesome they were. But,
Yeah.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was probably one of the best, Spider-Man aside, one of the best and most innovative cartoon movies, animated movies I've ever seen.
Yes.
Just how they made it look like a live comic book was just awesome. Just so cool how they did that. I mean, it's Spider-Man. You really can't say much more about it. And it's not even the Spider-Man that I'm used to. It's a different Spider-Man. So I was still cool
Many
with
different
it.
Spider-Mans.
Well, yeah.
That movie is at the tippy top of my list of must-see movies right now. I have not gotten out to see it. I'm incredibly pissed at myself right now for not having seen it, but it is right at that list of need to see.
Well, I actually literally just saw it last night. And I didn't put it anywhere on any of my lists. Reason being, I
was waiting for the surprise, Josh. I thought it was going to be one of your 1 or 2s.
No, the reason is I did enjoy it immensely. Extraordinarily surprised at how well it was done, especially when, we heard like, okay, so in the middle of all this stuff, they're making an animated theatrical Spider-Man movie. But I had such a good impression coming out last night that I didn't want to have that like as a skewed data point. You know what I mean? So like if it had released like months ago, but the fact that it just came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 at that point, but still, like, it was very, very fresh. I wanted to see it before we recorded. I wanted to see it before it was out of theaters. I wanted to let it.
See, I thought that was the point, though. I thought you were trying to see it before your list, before we recorded this, so you could add it to the list if it needed to be.
It was to some degree, but I think I actually had such a good reaction to it that I needed to let it simmer. Like, if it had fallen like middle ground, I'd have been like, okay, this could be like number 8 or so, but it was actually really, really, really decent. So I don't know. Maybe I'll come back in like 3 months with a little bit of a revision.
So spoiler alert, this made my number 2. I was really trying to fight for it for number 1, but I can't displace number 1, which should be obvious to most people.
Yeah.
I saw Spider-Verse with Romano here immediately after we were done seeing it. I would have walked in and watched it again.
You know what? I could have easily gone. I tried to get Jessica. She didn't want to go.
Yeah. It all the stuff that he said, I think it's a fantastic Spider-Man movie. They nailed the story. Miles Morales is fantastic. The art style of a living comic book world is
Gorgeous.
unique and different, and I loved it.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be one of those movies that looks fantastic on like 4K Blu-ray because the colors are going to pop when you're watching it at home.
When I got home, I told Sarah, because she didn't really have an interest in seeing it at all, and I was like on the fence. I was like iffy about it, but I wanted to give it a shot. And especially like I'm watching the credits and I see like Lord and Miller's name attached to it, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Given what I just saw, that makes a lot of sense. And same thing with Jess, maybe Mike, is I think Sarah would enjoy the hell out of this now, but I think the preconception of it, unless you're like already in the bag for anything Spider-Man, like like you guys are maybe, she needed a little bit more of a sell. But I after experiencing it, I think she would love it. Oh,
I told her I'm buying it on Blu-ray, so there's no this or but. She's gonna have to watch it at some point with me. I'll win her over. Don't you worry.
And this is definitely a stepping stone to more movies, especially with the impact this had at the box office. It won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature.
Yeah, Spider-Verse is sure to come for sure.
Yeah, we will be getting more Spider-Verse movies.
I mean, they already teed it up. I mean,
yeah,
no more talk about that.
Yeah,
people haven't seen it.
Stay after the credits, folks.
Yeah,
that was so great. I love that payoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one I could gush about because we never did a review at this, so I'm like chomping at the bit to talk about it. But I will try to move us on. Bradley, your number 2.
My number 2, according to, as I said, 3 times seen in the theater, is Avengers: Infinity War. We could probably talk about that for an entire another podcast after the review we did before. Needless to say, this could very easily have been number 1 had I gone with a different method of choosing number 1, but I've known what number 1 was all year long. And
it turns out to be Annihilation, I swear to God.
It is?
Process of elimination, I think I figured out his 1, and I don't know if I would have pegged that for his top. I would have figured it'd be in his top 10, but since he hasn't talked about it yet.
That said, Infinity War, amazing. Obviously. Can't wait for Endgame.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say there. We've said everything that could possibly be said about Infinity War.
Yeah, we did get to do a proper review on that one, so that's out there if you want to listen to it. If you just want to hear us gush about a movie for 2 hours, that's pretty much what that is.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to Josh's number 2.
I find myself being as shocked about this as maybe anybody. My number 2 ended up at Mission Impossible.
Oh.
When I really thought about just like really what blew me out of the water, what was extremely well crafted, what did I just enjoy the hell out of, I kept going back to that. I only saw it once so far, but it just stuck with me.
Well, I know like a few of my friends, like I think Chris, Eric, Matt, Josh, none of them have seen this movie yet, and I'm like chomping at the bit to show them this movie. I'm just like, when the fuck are we sitting down and watching this? Because you guys need to see this.
It's definitely worth the time.
I haven't gotten around to it yet, but yeah, I'm like looking for the excuse to just show this movie to people because it's so fucking good.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
All right, my number 2, we talked about Spider-Verse, so we'll bring it around to everybody's number 1, starting with Romano.
What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, process of elimination, pretty much. I can pretty much figure out everyone's number 1 because I'm looking at the list.
Is it Mandy?
No, I mean, Infinity War didn't even make my list. It was the biggest disappointment of the year.
Well,
Jurassic Park.
That is surprising.
No, I'm just fucking with you. It was Infinity War.
Let's just get this out of the way because Bradley's going to have something different. Mine was Infinity War too.
I also had Infinity War. As much as I wanted it to be something different, I could not. And there's a 99% chance Endgame is going to be here next year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
how that goes.
That's a tough choice though next year to say that now.
Oh, that's true. We got episode 9 next year. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got episode 9.
And episode 9 will
Endgame.
be the most fresh in your mind.
Oh, that's true, because that'll be December. Yeah. I'll be coming off my 5th viewing as we sit down to do.
All right, Bradley.
Around to my number 1, 4 times in the theater, several dozen times at home, is Ready Player One.
Wow.
I cannot get enough of that movie. And it's the type of movie I can watch 20 minutes of, a half an hour of, whatever I'm doing. I can put it on for that amount of time, watch whatever there is of it, whatever part it's on. I don't care. I just pick it up and watch it all the damn time. It felt like a movie that is the type of movie we don't get anymore. I mean, when's the last time a movie ended with "You Make My Dreams Come True" and you actually felt like this fits? Probably like 1989 is when you felt that the last time. This movie brought a lot of those feelings back, and it felt like an older Steven Spielberg, maybe not his kind of movie, but an older, even I'll say a Zemeckis movie is what it really felt like. You know, go back, and it's just so much fun, start to finish. I can't watch it enough.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, considering he talked about it earlier and said it's going to be higher on my list, and we hadn't talked about it when we got to the number 2 spot, I was like, well,
that's why
I know what's coming
it's your
there.
show. You're paying
Brian's
attention to
sitting
the details.
there. He's writing all this down as we're talking too, and none of the rest of us are. So
I gotta read the
track
book
of-
because I'm the only one that hasn't read the book yet. I never even heard
definitely give
read
it
the
a
book.
shot.
Because I had never even heard of the book at all. And then Brian, you're like, you got to watch the trailer for this, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I can get into that.
I think we saw this together. Didn't we go to the theater
Yeah,
for
we
this?
did.
They just should have
Yeah.
called this "Ooh Shiny" the movie.
Yeah, basically it was. It really was.
You know what? They could, but it had heart too.
True.
Man.
It
Like
did.
it was there, and it just, I don't know. The final battle sequence starts with him holding up a boombox from like Say Anything.
Careless Whisper.
Like
We're playing Careless Whisper, right? No.
No, it was playing.
Oh.
We're not gonna take
Well,
it.
that's it. Yeah, never mind. I'm sorry.
But he's
Yeah.
but he's holding it up like Say Anything, and it's just
yeah,
Fucking Chucky, man.
fucking Chucky.
fucking Chucky.
I mean,
Now I'm gonna watch that probably tomorrow night. Now.
I just seen
I've been thinking
the
about
last
it.
time I watched it. I noticed for the first time they had the President Will Wheaton sign on the wall in one part.
Yeah, in the
And-
basement. Vote Will Wheaton.
Yeah, vote for Wheaton. It's like, well, it's just every time you watch it, there's something new to enjoy.
Yeah, I can't go wrong with that one. Like I said, if the other ones weren't locked in for me above that would have definitely cracked into the. Yeah, every time, it's based on mood. Half the time I look at this list and I'm like, well, depending on how I feel today, this could be rearranged, but I got to try to stick to my guns here. Romano, I know you're itching to go. Do you want to go over your honorable mentions and stuff real quick, or no?
Well, we already talked about them. I said Black Panther and Deadpool 2.
Okay.
And then Deadpool 2 was the one that made my... It made my honorable mention, but it also made my biggest disappointment list.
Okay.
I think
Any
going
surprises?
with any surprises was Ready Player One, only because, I never read the book. I mean, it looked cool, but I was actually really surprised how much I actually really liked the movie.
Okay.
And was that The Outlaw King on Netflix with Chris
Gotcha.
Pine, and his little dingle.
I'm sure he would love that movie review on a poster. Come see Chris Pine and his little dingle.
All right, so real quickly, I did tally the scores based on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh boy.
So Romano averaged out 80 for both critic and users.
Nice.
Bradley is
Unpredictable.
at 79 critic and 80 user.
Neck and neck.
Josh had 70 critic and 69 user.
Ooh.
I'm at 81 critic and 77 users.
I got the better average, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like we all did better last year.
Romano's good.
Yeah, I think we did. I have to. Where the hell's last year's list?
Whatever. I like the movies I picked. Screw them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Romano, if you want to cut loose, we'll cut you loose.
I am gonna
The
bounce.
rest of us will finish up.
I will talk to you guys later.
All right, peace.
All right, man.
See ya.
All right, so quickly, do we want to go through honorable mentions and surprises, disappointments, anything we didn't cover yet?
All right.
Yeah.
For
Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say for me, honorable Pacific Rim Uprising. We didn't cover that. That was damn near in my top. You know me and giant monster movies. That movie's just fun.
Yeah.
And the other honorable mention I have is Super Troopers 2. That movie was hilarious.
Yes, it was.
Again, it's an honorable mention. I didn't feel like it deserved to be in the top 10, but damn, that was fun.
That's one I still haven't seen. I need to make it a point to find
Yeah,
that one
that
too.
one just went on HBO. Like
Oh, nice.
I
yesterday.
don't think I have. I don't have HBO, but
Oh, I thought you
We
did for
can-
Westworld. I thought you kept it for that.
no, I haven't. I gotta hijack my parents probably if I want to do that.
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we have HBO to go as well. Sarah has all that crap.
But disappointments for me
Tomorrow.
was Fantastic Beasts and The Meg,
Mm-hmm.
of course, as I when I put it in my top 10 anticipated, I said it was going to be in my disappointments then, and it didn't disappoint. Even though
Well,
it
then
did.
did it really disappoint? Then? So even though you knew it was going to disappoint you, it was even lower
No.
than your
it's
expected
still-
disappointments
when
to
you've
still
wanted
because otherwise
to
then it
see
is
a
what you
movie
expected.
for 20 years and it's not very good, it's not where near as good as what the books were, it's a disappointment.
All right,
Even if
fair
you
enough.
expect it to suck, it's still a disappointment because you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, I'm just arguing
And
semantics.
especially when you consider the fact that it should have been Eli Roth directing that movie. Like, it was slated to be Eli Roth, and it wound up not. And my only surprise that was not talked about was He's Out There. That was the horror movie with Yvonne Strahovski that I had previously mentioned once, I think, that is pretty fantastic.
All right, so we'll go on with Josh's. Whatever we didn't cover. Honorable
Yeah.
mentions, surprises, disappointments.
My honorable mentions, I mean, we did talk about each of them at some point. Just kind of put them in order as they were released throughout the year. Honorables were Black Panther, Deadpool 2, Incredibles 2, and Bad Times at the El Royale. My surprises were Mike, You're in Good Company, Super Troopers 2. That movie was 17 years after the first one.
Mm-hmm.
For it to be as funny as it was without relying on just constant callback jokes and like rehashing the same plot but packaging it differently, it was really funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Aquaman was also a surprise just because I don't think I had high expectations or high hopes for it. I didn't know really what to expect, but it definitely elevated itself. And my last one, even though it didn't really fall in anywhere else like honorables or anything, was Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom. I think I've talked before, like I don't think Jurassic World is a good movie at all. It's on prior episodes. Go listen if you want. So yeah, going into the sequel to that, again, didn't have quite high hopes, but I think this kind of redeemed itself. It found a bit stronger of a story to hang itself on. So I was happy to see that. My disappointments were Annihilation. Because in the end, I'm still not entirely sure what the hell I watched.
Fair.
I didn't hate it. I didn't not enjoy it per se. I'm just not sure what I watched. Like if somebody was reading an astrophysics textbook at MIT in Hungarian to me, it would have been the same thing. I don't
pretty.
know. Yeah. Speaking of pretty, the other disappointment was A Wrinkle in Time. I never read the book, but so I didn't like have a hope per se, but I think from the previews, just from the visuals and whatnot, I was hoping for a lot more, and it just ended up being really bland in my opinion.
Yeah.
And my last disappointment was one that I just clocked in right before Christmas. I wanted this to be better. I really did. Mortal Engines.
Yeah.
I did not see that yet. But
I did see that too, and I feel like that checked off every single YA box that you would expect, and I feel like that just bogged down the movie in needless crap.
Amy and I were about to go and see it, and it went through my mind, just check a review real quick. And then I checked the Rotten Tomatoes, and then it was like, okay, so I'll check a different review, and everything was negative, like, this is just not made for adults kind of thing. Like, it's...
Yeah. It's more just story stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the design aspect of the cities and what they do, and that whole thing is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted more of that. I wanted more of the background of the history. Like, how did this happen? How do you even make these things? How do they continue fueling? How do you manage a society? I wanted all of that. I didn't necessarily need as much of the intermittent, like, sidebars.
Right.
Teenage angst.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we'll hit my couple categories. Honorable mentions, I think I talked about a bunch of or at least most of them. Aquaman was my honorable mention. Deadpool 2. I'm with Mike. Pacific Rim Uprising has some plot and story holes in it, but as far as just a fun movie, just to see robots beat the shit out of things and look really awesome doing it.
Yeah.
And I just recently watched it again, because I only watched it once, and I wanted to watch it again before we put the list together, because I wanted a little bit more fresh in my mind to see how I felt about it. And it was either this or Tomb Raider making my number 10, and I gave it to Tomb Raider.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to see Pacific Rim Uprising thinking that, oh man, this better have a very sound story. No, it's giant robots beating the shit out of giant monsters. This is not... We're not
that's all I expect from the next Godzilla movie, is just giant monsters beating up other giant monsters. That's all I really care about right now.
Yeah, the story's not important. It's just, this is gonna look fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know?
And I bought Pacific Rim Uprising in 4K, so I got to see it in its 4K glory, and it is beautiful.
I do not have the 4K. That would be...
Bohemian Rhapsody also made my honorable mentions, and one we haven't talked about is Vice.
Oh, I didn't get there yet.
I really liked Vice. I think Adam McKay is kind of carving out a little niche for himself in like these documentary type biopic movies. Like Big Short, I thought was really good. He puts a unique spin on these things that they're tongue in cheek and they have a sense of humor to them, all while trying to tell the facts and the story to what they're trying to do. So it keeps it a little bit more entertaining that way, that it's not just like spitting out a bunch of information and trying to give you all this drama, but it's doing it so it's like in a fun, interesting way. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a part of the movie, like a third or, fourth or a third of the way through the movie, that I was just dying laughing at, because I feel like if people don't get his sense of humor, they would not understand what the hell's going on.
Okay.
And I again, I don't want to tell you. If you see it, we'll talk about it afterwards. But yeah, I was cracking up for a solid 5 minutes.
I was just gonna say for Vice, I was immediately impressed with how incredible the makeup was.
Yes, yeah. Christian Bale utterly disappears into Dick Cheney.
Yeah, that
it is.
It's just a statement
weird.
You never want to hear again. It's unbelievable. Just from seeing the preview, the first preview I saw, I didn't know anything about the film. I didn't know it was Christian Bale. Amy and I were having like that trailer discussion, and she noticed it first, and she saw, she heard it. She didn't really see that it was Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit, that's Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And
which
he's
is also
like the
just,
last person in the world you expect.
Yeah, it's such a strange choice to take someone his age of a different nationality with that nationality's noticeable accent and make him play a historical figure of another country in contemporary times. It's not.
Did anyone watch the Golden Globes?
Yes.
His Cockney.
Yeah, I mean, he won for Best Supporting Actor as for that role, and just hearing him speak in his normal voice, and then watching Vice and hearing him be Dick Cheney, it is completely different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He ended up thanking Satan
That was
in
great.
his acceptance speech, which was
for
funny.
the inspiration.
This was that was the only part of the Golden Globes I actually got to see was his thing because Kunkel told me about it and I just had to watch and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was great. Surprises for me, they both made my top 10. Bumblebee surprised me for as well of a Transformers movie as that ended up being, and I kept talking about it all year, is Tag.
Mm-hmm.
Tag, I still think is a fucking great movie. Disappointments for me, I mentioned it earlier, Fantastic Beasts. I think I wanted more from it, and I don't know, it left me feeling short for that movie. Not that I expected much from it, but I still walked away disappointed, was Fallen Kingdom. I'm on the opposite side from you, Josh. I think Jurassic World is a far superior movie than Fallen Kingdom. I think Fallen Kingdom falls apart halfway through. And it loses me.
I'm on your side. I actually forgot to add that to my disappointments.
I think it tries to take it more horror-y route.
Yeah.
Like a scary thriller type of thing, and it's shot that way. It just, there was nothing there that interests me.
I mean, they play this route to me, again, this is similar to Pacific Rim. I'm not looking for quality cinema in filmmaking and editing and story writing. I'm looking for fucking dinosaurs chasing people and having fun during that journey. And they played this route that somehow this Indoraptor was more badass than an Indominus Rex, and it was like, you went down. You're supposed to scale up in these things when you go from one movie to the next as far as what's going to happen. They did it right with Jurassic Park and The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3, they were like, here's a Tyrannosaur, it's a big badass, there's Velociraptors, they're badasses. Next one, there's 2 Tyrannosaurs, and now there's no fences, and there's lots of Velociraptors. And the third one's like, here's a thing that kills a Tyrannosaurus. And then they go Jurassic World, and they're like, here's the Indominus Rex, way more badass than a Tyrannosaurus. And this one's like, well, we got a smaller version
You know
of that now.
You know what they did right in this one? They took out the stupid, needless kids.
They did?
I will give you that. Well, there is a kid,
but she plays an actual role that
she is part
matters
of the plot
in the plot
of that movie.
Instead of just being there for no damn reason, and they're bitchy whiny the whole time, and their stupid
I'll give you
tween
that. The kids
emo-ness.
in Jurassic World drive me up a fucking
They serve
wall.
no purpose to the plot at all.
Other than showing that Claire's a douchebag.
Yeah, pretty much.
She's a bad aunt. She's a douchebag. That's about it.
Kids.
But I think kind of my complaint with Fantastic Beasts fits Jurassic World. I think Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is a stepping stone to the cap off of this trilogy.
Okay.
I think they're just leading towards whatever 3 is going to be.
Jurassic World. That was actually the one moment in that movie I really liked, was the final statement you get from Ian Malcolm. As things are happening at the end of the movie and he gives that final statement, that was actually really cool.
Which in itself was a needless cameo, but whatever.
It was, but you give me Jeff Goldblum narrating sequences, I'll take that, actually.
Yeah, the only thing but every single line of dialogue that he says in that movie is in the trailers. Like, they ruin the surprise for that.
That's true. And they could have used more of him narrating things.
Yeah. Just narrate the movie. I'm fine with that.
That's the best part of the video game. The Park Builder game is that he narrates the whole damn thing.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing.
My last disappointment is more of a disappointment in the fucking movie-going audience. Why the fuck did Venom make more fucking money than most of the shit out there this year?
To bring this up, I was hoping it's like, don't stare at the sun. Like, don't ignore.
I really thought it was going to make somebody's list. I was not going to be surprised if it hit somebody's number 10 somewhere.
I almost did it just to trigger you. Just.
Well, I know you were the one that kept saying you liked it more than most of us, so I had a feeling if it's going to show up on anybody's list, it would have been yours.
That doesn't mean it's in my top 10. Like,
here's the thing, though. How many people so far have you personally talked to who have seen this movie said, oh yeah, I really dug it? I think it just so happened that it, like us, it was just this perfect storm amalgam of enough people simultaneously saying, all right, I guess I'll check it out. That's it.
I think there were a few people, Josh. I think some friends of ours have. I don't know if I talked to them personally, but just seeing maybe like Facebook posts or something from it, that there are certain people that did come out of it saying they liked the movie.
There's nothing to like about it. It borrows pieces from every other successful aspect of all these other movies. It has no clear characterization. You don't know why the hell Venom changes routes. You don't know if you're supposed to like him, supposed to hate him. You don't know if Eddie is supposed to like him or supposed to hate him, or if he's supposed to not like this relationship. God damn it! It's just.
I've opened Pandora's box.
Okay.
I apologize.
So here's the thing: if I was given an award, if we were doing top 10 performances of the year, Tom Hardy is on my list.
He did fine. I don't know if I'd go top 10 performance.
Yeah,
I feel like he was fantastic.
Through certain lenses, I could see what you mean. But, and that's the only reason I can think that people come out with likability is because how they crafted the Eddie Brock character to interact with this thing that's a part of him. That's the only aspect of it. Take that out. The whole story just falls the frick apart. Yeah. And like I said, there's no real clear delineation on what his relationship with this symbiotic parasite thing is supposed to be. Is it a good guy, or are we supposed to like it? We don't know. Well, he seems like a pretty terrible person, telling us where he's going to bite people's heads off, and he wants him to be. But that's his nature. So, is it an anti-hero? We don't really know. He's not. Well, this is our main character, so we have to care about him. We don't want him to die. So we have this opposing force. Nothing goddamn makes sense.
But don't worry, because we're getting a sequel.
Can we suffice it to say that opening up Venom's story without Spider-Man doesn't work? And that's part of the biggest problem here, and we don't want Sony to try again. We want Sony to give up. But there's too much money in it, and they won't.
Yeah, this officially greenlit like every other Spider-Man spinoff they ever want to do.
For now. Until all it's going to take is one more tank, and they're going to say, well, no, we'll cancel these now, and we'll just stick to what worked before. And they'll try and reboot again.
I'm gonna be curious if they're that gun-shy again, if they get one more dud. If they're back to the drawing board, or if they're going to say, well, this was the offshoot. We just want to get that Venom sequel out there, and it'll right the ship.
I was trying to rack my brain today, because I figured this would come up at some point. That I was thinking of that. I'm spoiling the hell out of this. I don't care. I hate Venom so much. That end credit scene that they reveal with him not only looks absolutely terrible, like they ran out of all the money, and they put that together in some
they could have just left him bald
empty room in a high school, and they took that wig from their theater department. I was trying to rack my brain at least on any MCU movie tags, something that we've seen in the last couple years that was so on the nose, but not in an ironic way, blatantly corny about that reveal of what's happening with that, oh, there will be carnage. That was the stupidest line in the world.
Can I say, though, it's still, of all superhero movies this year, it is my second on the top of the bad list for post-credit scenes. With Aquaman taking number 1.
Yeah.
What the fuck was the point of that? I'm not going to say what it was. I'm not going to spoil it. This movie just came out.
But I'm actually trying to remember. I know, I just saw it. I can't remember.
Just to tell you that there's going to be a sequel with that person. That's pretty much it.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
We just got that.
Okay, so it was needless because
that
I think
just happened.
Yeah,
That's what we don't need that.
I get that part. Yeah, but I just like the way that the Venom thing was pulled off. It was like that's how you would make a movie in 1995.
I don't want to name the cat. I know we've sort of spoiled it, but we're still being very vague, so I think it's still pretty safe. I don't want to say who is in the end credit scene of Venom, but I would have much preferred Carrot Top, to be honest.
Just put him in there.
If they were going to go the route they went, they may as well have.
No, I even think just compared to who they cast, Carrot Top fits that character better in comic book form. Like the lanky redhead character that you know of fits Carrot Top.
They would save literally millions of dollars in the budget. You could cast Carrot Top for like $30,000.
Carrots.
Yeah. Pay him however you want to.
Props for your next show.
Like pay the rent on his apartment for the next year, and that's it. You got it.
Yeah. Well, that and his speed. You gotta give him his speed.
All right. So I didn't want to end on such a downer, but it's kind of where we're at, and this is, I think, probably going to end up pushing 3.5 hours when all is said and done. So we'll see.
You are welcome, listeners.
If we can, this is what you sign up for. Hopefully you take these in chunks because no one has that kind of time to sit down in one sitting and listen to all this
That's what work
crap.
commutes are for.
Yeah. Hopefully you have an hour-long commute.
Just spread it out for like your trip in and trip home Monday through Friday. You got a whole week's worth of. Don't turn the radio on. You don't need that crap. This is commercial free.
That's true.
We
have no ads to pay for anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so that's where we're going to end it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the countdowns. These are always really fun, I think, for us to do. It's a shame that we do them back to back because it's like I'd rather spread them out, and we have to find more like top 10 lists like this to do. I think later in the year, so we can sort of break it up, have some more fun. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review there. You can find us now on Google Play. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and Super Friends. Go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff there. You can email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. I'll be honest, I don't check that, but I do check Twitter now, so you can find us at BGSuperFriends on Twitter. I'm trying to post most of the same articles that I post on Facebook. I'm trying to make sure I also put them up on Twitter to try to get a little bit more exposure, maybe start a conversation out there. I actually did have a conversation with someone about a Spider-Man post. We were going back and forth about Sony and Spider-Man and Venom. Yeah, it was about the Venom sequel, or the writer, I think. And it was, for the most part, pretty cordial. So at least I had an interaction on Twitter that wasn't, didn't devolve into shouting at each other and how wrong everyone was and stuff like that. So that was kind of
Come
nice.
talk to us, please. We want to hear from you.
Josh is very vocal on Facebook, so you can find us on Facebook if you want to talk to Josh and I.
We can set up live, simultaneous listening parties to the episodes that I'm even on myself, and then we can post comments back and forth as we go through. It'll be fun.
Josh has been known to live comment as he's listening to the episodes once the post is up, so you can catch all of his inner thoughts as he's going through them through the episode. On the Facebook page.
It's all stream of conscious.
So yeah, that is it for us. On behalf of Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you guys next time.